driving kick was an act of desperation in the past. A complete act of desperation. You drove it to the basket. You have absolutely nothing to do with the basketball. You can't go up with a shot. You can't put it on the floor again. You can't change pivot feet. You are fucked. You're in the paint. When you have a 2 count. 1, 2, 3. And now you fire one out to the corner and hope the fat kid makes it. A guy that's not even involved in the play. That's a driving kick. I mean, I guess it's a legitimate NBA play now, and it might be on the college level, but wasn't it usually the result of just a failed maneuver to the basket?
It is funny you're saying that because it's now, and most of my life, it's been an offensive, like a play. But you're right. Like normally, you never went to the basket trying to pass.
No.
Why would you go to the basket?
Well, you might make a dish under the basket.
No,
but you weren't firing it out to the corner at the top of the key.
No, you go to the basket for a layup, then like, oh, fuck, there's nowhere to go. Oh, he's open, thank God.
Yeah. You had to contort yourself, to go ahead and try to make a pass out there. And, you were lucky if your team ended up receiving the pass.
Yep.
For all of the analysis, and then this philosophical BS that they run by sponsor. Well, you know what? The team felt like it was undervalued going into the season. And, a lot of your players have, had to take therapy to deal with the fact that they're a bunch of fucking scrubs. Eric, how do you address that, before game 2 when you're already down 1-0? Like Aristotle on the podium there, and, says something that seems, right out of the Riley book. I mean, did Riley just leave him his own Haftorah to read?
The time! Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday after a glorious, you talk about a smorgasbord of exciting sporting events that we had to witness over the weekend. Unfortunately for the local teams, they were not positive results all the way around, and we now sit. Here's Luganis, and he's going to try a triple somersault with 3.5 twists here as he goes to the highest point ever on his Acapulco cliff diving tour. You're like, what? You're going to dive off of that thing, a little rock? You're going to stand on that and dive like 400 feet into the ocean? You got to be kidding me. Make sure the tide is high. That's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, we're looking for a life raft with both the Panthers and the Heat. I'm Jeff DeForest, in case you were unfamiliar, and we do have to give a shout-out to our man Andy, another one of these incidents, man. Thank God he bought that timeshare at that hospital in Palm Beach, because we're hoping that he's okay. So we're looking for some comments here from Andy, just to confirm which our suspicions would be that this man will never die and nothing bad will ever happen to him health-wise, although he does spend an inordinate amount of time eating hospital food, does he not, Andy? So we wish you the best, Andy. We love you, man, and I'll always dig your support. Although, even Andy would have to be a little bit pessimistic about what's happening right now with both the Miami Heat and the Florida Panthers. Now, you could take the Lubie approach, which he sounds like many of our Republican representatives in Congress talking about the Trump indictment, which is that, we shouldn't have been there anyway, so what the hell? Being down 3-1 is no disaster. But, Lubie, you could taste it. You could taste the championship. We went out on a limb trying to be optimistic. You talk about, being purveyors of positive news and a sort of happy, enchanted sentiment. But we did have the Panthers winning the Stanley Cup, which is not impossible. I don't know. I mean, if you were looking at what is more insurmountable, you would have to say it's the difference between the Heat and the Nuggets. More so, even after 2 blowouts in the first couple of games of the Stanley Cup Finals, you still saw that the Panthers, when they do their thing, even while compromised by injury, Lubie would say the officiating. But if Bobrovsky's on his game, even to a large extent, he doesn't have to be quite as phenomenal as he was in some of the previous series. But while he hasn't been, at least he's shined in spots in those 2 games at home, both of which could have gone either way. Could have very easily been a 2-2 series, could have easily been over. So, the Panthers are in there still, with a little bit of a shot. I don't give the Heat much of a chance of winning 3 in a row. And the numbers, Lubie, are not favorable. You are playing into 71-2. In terms of teams down 3-1 under these circumstances in the postseason. In the NBA and the NHL combined, the NHL, I believe it's 36-1, NBA 35-1, and the team that was up 3-1 at this juncture of a series has almost always prevailed. I mean, I don't know, what is that percentage-wise? 71-2. That's ridiculous,
It's
right?
like 97%, I think.
Yeah. So the odds are not in our favor, as the song goes. Odds were in my favor. Your horse naturally runs
97%. It's 97%.
97%. Yeah. That's a 3% chance, Lubie. That's what ESPN was talking about with the Miami Heat, but combined such ugliness in terms of the numerology, and yet you would say that if there was any hope, it would be the Panthers maybe pulling one out on Tuesday night. The Las Vegas Golden Knights did lose a game 5 at home against Dallas in the previous series after leading 3-1. They did come back and just distinguish themselves by shellacking the Stars 6-0 in game 6 on the road to close that one out. But they seem to be playing a step faster than the Florida Panthers overall. I mean, maybe they fell into a little bit of a lax approach in the third period there. A fluke goal gets the Panthers to 3-1. Much more solid goal as the Panthers started to go on the attack, gets them to 3-2. They came within an eyelash of making it 3-3. Big scrum in front of the net there. Although those last couple of shots that were stopped by Hill with his left pad, that you had the Panthers just I think it was
It was Kachuk had a point blank easy goal, and he was just flailing at the puck. It was actually frustrating.
But what was it, Bennett? He had a couple of cracks at it, and he couldn't sweep the puck by. But I think time had already expired. Those goals would have been had the puck gone in, it would have been disallowed. Kachuk had a shot in
5
regulation.
seconds left in front, and instead of getting it into the air, hit it right into Hill's pad as the clock expired.
But at least those games were close. I mean, they were competitive. The first couple of games were not. I know the Golden Knights pulled away in the third period in the first game to win at 5-2, including an empty netter on a power play. But the second game was a blowout. It wasn't even close. Panthers had to resort to ugly tactics. In fact, you were waiting for Kachuk to just forget about Paul Maurice, the French Joe Philbin. You were waiting for him to just scream out, McMahon, because they resorted to wrestling tactics. You thought they might have a chance to tighten it up, although you didn't get the superlative goaltending that you were getting from, is that right? Superlative? I don't know if that's the right use of that word. Probably not. But you didn't get the great goaltending you were getting from Bobrovsky. He wasn't, standing on his head, as they say. But wasn't horrible by any stretch of the imagination, and kept them in both games in the late going. He was the one reason that the Panthers had a shot. First, they came back and won Game 3, and then they had a chance to come back in Game 4, but weren't able to do it. And, you're just thinking the chances are prohibitive because overall, I mean, if you were scoring this like a boxing match, you would have Las Vegas probably winning all 4 rounds so far. Even though they lost Game 3, they were outplaying the Panthers for a good portion of that game and ended up on the short end of it. So, looking ugly. I mean, playing in some big odds. Let's take them one at a time because there's a ton of stuff to get to. And Scoop Skolnick's going to join us later on in this hour and help us analyze what chance the Heat have left. Should we just start singing now? The party's over.
For me,
I mean, it's Don Meredith time on this thing. It looked ugly, huh? That kind of left you cold, that Game 4. Game 3, you're thinking, all right, so they didn't really have a great ball game. But Game 4, they pretty much duplicated exactly what they did in Game 3, which was not much.
Yep.
And ended up losing by a wide margin there, 108-95, a 13-point loss with Denver favored in that game. And they're favored tonight by a wide gap as well. 8 and a hook, I think, was the last line I saw. I saw it as high as 9. So people giving the Miami Heat little chance of recovering in this series. And in all likelihood, they have them saying sayonara tonight. I'm going to miss these playoffs, Lubie, because it has been a lot of fun. I don't want to resign myself to both teams losing. You always have to believe it's Tug McGraw time, but we didn't get really that much evidence for building a foundation of belief in the Miami Heat these last couple of ball games. Very, very deflating, much more so than the Cats, who at least came to life a little bit. All right, what do you think? Is it over? Miami Heat, Denver Nuggets. Does it end tonight?
Yes. I think both series are done. I can see a world where the Panthers go there, win, because again, they did play really well in Game 1 and just fell apart in the third period. So maybe they can win a game, go home, maybe win a game and lose in 7. But to me, the fact that they've been outplayed pretty much every game, all outside of that third period in game. What is it? Game 4. The funny thing is, even the game 3 that they won, Vegas outplayed them pretty much the entire game except for like the last 4 minutes.
Yeah.
The third period and the overtime. This last game, that was their best entire period. That third period, I don't think Vegas was playing half-assed or anything. I think the Panthers finally were goddamn aggressive for an entire period, and Vegas was like, "Oh shit! Thank God we have."
They had some chances on the ice that game. Bobrovsky came up huge in the third
great.
period. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That third period as a team was their best period. Bobrovsky, the defense didn't get better. The defense has sucked. Bobrovsky woke up.
Point blank shots on Bobrovsky. Yes.
He played great that third period, kept it at 3 goals. I wish he'd kept it at 2 goals, kept it at 3 goals, and allowed them to make it interesting in the third period. But outside of that period, Vegas, I know winning periods doesn't matter, but when you win all periods, it does matter. Vegas has outplayed them thoroughly in every period but one in this whole series. And the Heat, look, when you get those games out of Jokic and Murray, you should win by 15. If you get those games out of Jokic, I never thought they'd get any games like that out of Jokic and Murray. And they may win a game. You get those games out of Jokic and Murray, Jokic in foul trouble, which he never gets called for fouls. Murray not able to hit the side of a barn because the Heat really did a good job defensively. And then they still lose by double digits. I mean, to me, they don't have a shot in hell to win any more games. Like, they've shot their load point blank. And I just think the Nuggets are better and the Heat really have no answers. I mean, that's where that series is to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, if you just saw the box score on this last game, you would say, all right, if you didn't know the final outcome, you probably would have given the Heat a chance to win that thing, right? Butler 25, Bam 20, 4 other guys in double figures.
Yep.
Among the so-called role players, Love, Lowry, Robinson, Caleb Martin, but low double figures, but double figures nonetheless. And you're thinking, all right, so their 2 stars were okay, and the supporting cast did well. And then on top of that, you hold Jokic to 23 and 12, which is holding him, a double-double, almost inconsequential double-double there for Jokic. And Murray shoots 5 for 17 and only has 15 points in the ballgame. You do have to, have your eyes pop out a little bit. How does Aaron Gordon come up with 27 with a masterful all-around performance offensively by Aaron Gordon? We saw that big spurt in game 1 where they went inside to Gordon, and every time he had Vincent on him, he destroyed him. And whatever switches took place, they were unable to account for Aaron Gordon early in that game. But he only ended up with 16 after scoring 12 in the first quarter. This game, he was steady throughout, including some 3-pointers at key times when the Heat were starting to make some inroads into the lead. And so Aaron Gordon's 27 was humongous in that one. I guess the big story was the mascot, Bernie. The professor must have loved this because he hates mascots.
He was all over it. It was his favorite thing. He was giddy about it.
Yeah. And Conor McGregor has this stage bit where he's selling some kind of spray pain reliever and hawking that. What happened to the booze that he was selling? Proper, what is it? Proper 12?
Well. Yeah, I don't know what the hell it's called. It didn't do well. Supposedly, it's horrendous. I don't know anyone who tried it that hasn't said it's not horrible.
Even the Irishmen are spitting it up as if it was like aqua velva strained through bread. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yes.
That was a trick in the army back in World War II. Anyway, yeah, I mean, that was a big story. So McGregor throws a punch at Bernie. Does he not know that he doesn't have to actually do it, McGregor? I mean, if you're punching a mascot, what do? You figure the guy's got enough padding, you can hit him as hard as you want, no? Knocks his, the like red hair off of his top and knocks him out and then hits him again. One of those, UFC moves where the guy is on the ground flat out, and any self-respecting person back in the day in Brooklyn, you would have never hit that guy while he was on the ground. But in MMA, it's ground and pound, my friend. They even have a name for it. So he gives him a little bit of a ground and pound. He hits him with another shot, and then he does his thing strutting off the court, and they're dragging Bernie off the court as part of this scripted bit, not realizing that Bernie's out cold. Amazing, huh? Is that karma? I mean, is it the same Bernie that was the guy that was thrown out of that arena in Puerto Rico and arrested? Remember for like throwing confetti on some lady and they went crazy that one time? Or did the Heat go the cheap route and replace their mascot with one of the people from the mailroom because they didn't want to pay the guy anymore? I can't see Mickey Harrison doing that. Can you?
I don't think they did that, but I guess you never know.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So that was a big story on it. I mean, even your mascot is getting beat, which is not good. And now, look, I agree with you 1,000%, Louis. I mean, we have to keep this in perspective. You had 2 8 seeds that provided us with the wild entertainment, 2 improbable rides. Rarely will you see that where, I mean, you never see it anyway. 2 teams from the same city. It's only happened, I believe this is the 8th time that's occurred where 2 teams from the same city have been in the NBA and the NHL finals in the same year. And never have both teams won. We did give the Panthers a chance. They were playing hockey at a level that you thought, well, geez, this is one time where the record is just no indicator, a regular season record of how good this team can be. Well, when they put it all together, but I do believe that. I mean, you can see it, Kachuk. I mean, they pounded this guy into Bolivian, into Mike Tyson territory, and he was not himself in this game. Even though what didn't he have a goal? He did have one goal in a game, and he's been a pest around the net, and has been I guess an inspiring leader in terms of wanting to fight even the officials. I think he threw a punch at one of the referees in the game, but it hasn't been enough. And that was huge that Vegas was able to hang on and take that 3-1 lead. Leaves the Panthers in a very prohibitive position, and they will be on the ice tomorrow night, taking on the Las Vegas Golden Knights, facing that atmosphere alone would be enough to, is that not worth like a half a goal? The atmosphere in Las Vegas, Lubie? It was pretty insane, in the Florida Live Arena for games 3 and 4. I mean, the Panther fans came through, uncharacteristic. Well, I guess very characteristic of South Florida, where the fans suddenly awaken in the Stanley Cup Finals
Yeah, exactly.
and realize, hey, there's something going on here. Well, maybe I should be a fan. It's great. Other than that, we are completely unplugged from anything that was happening. But I'd like to, you get a chance to win a championship, but you're thinking no matter how overwhelming the matchup may be, how imposing the other team is, you would like to be in there with a competitive shot, which until this weekend, both of those teams seem to be in at least a reasonable position to believe that they could pull off the upset. Panthers came close. Heat, two really flat efforts there. I don't know. They were flat. Or were they just outclassed, Lubie? Is it just that there's too much size with the Denver Nuggets for the Heat to contend with? I mean, the Nuggets not shooting the ball particularly well from 3-point range, and yet at the same time, they're just beating the snot out of the Heat inside.
Now look, the Heat are actually doing a decent job. They just, to me, they're offense. They can't hang offensively. They just, it's sort of what Ken was sort of waiting for, and it's annoying to see because not that he was wrong or that it's just
talking about the professor as he's more commonly known.
Yes. Who comes on with us Fridays.
Yeah,
he's talked about it on air, but he's also talked about it with me a lot off air. It's when you see guys like this play above their level, at some point they're going to come back. I was crossing my fingers they'd get through the year. I'm not saying they're going to average 15 each a game, but I thought Martin, who was getting 19 to 20, was getting 20 or more each game really in the conference finals, would be able to keep 15 to 20. And I was hoping Vincent can keep 15 to 20 because both were averaging in the 20s for an entire series. So you're thinking, okay, even if they drop down to 15, those are good numbers. Both have been abysmal in this series, both of them. Robinson has actually played better than you would hope. That's great. Problem is, Strus this has been his worst series, and he hasn't been great these playoffs, but he's been a non-factor. Like, actually, he's been a detriment. His defense has been an abomination, and on offense, he's just useless. So
it was surprising to see him completely disappear.
He
had one spurt, and that was it in game 2.
Like, those 4 guys, Robinson's giving me a 9 or 10. Okay, Robinson's capable of 15 to 20, so 9 or 10 still isn't great, but it's fine. You're happy to get that from the guy that was out of the rotation. Those other 3 guys were key cogs in the rotation, and to get 11 from Martin isn't good. Like, it's just not. Yeah. And look, Bam and Butler are doing what they can, but they're not getting enough help, and the Nuggets do. The Nuggets have so many fucking guys. Their bench sucks to me for the most part, but their top 6.
Well, you can't say that about Bruce Brown. I mean, this guy was a catalyst
for them. He's a top 6 guy. Like,
and the other kid, the guy Braun that pronounces his name Brown, did have that one big game, which was
he sucks.
A huge factor in winning game 3.
He had a great like 5 minutes of a fourth quarter. He sucks. They have 6 guys, and all 6, even look, Michael Porter Jr.
I like the way you just summarily dismissed the guy and say he sucks.
He sucks. He had one quarter where the game was over. The Bruce Brown one was a factor because he had to cut it to 6.
Bruce Brown's a legitimate player.
He was huge. The Christian Brown, the game was over. It was like 12. Everyone was making a big deal. The game was over. When Christian Brown did what he did, the game was over. And he's done nothing before or after. Like, they have 6 guys. And even KCP, who hasn't really done anything in the series, still is a guy you have to count for. Michael Porter Jr. can't hit the side of a barn, but he gives you size, he gives you defense, and he gives you rebounding, where even when he's not doing anything on offense, he's giving you something. Martin, Strus, Vincent, when they're not scoring, they're useless. Like, they've literally been useless in the series, and the Nuggets don't have that. The Nuggets have 6 guys where no matter what they're doing on offense, they give you something, and I give them credit for that. Like, the Heat they've met their match. Like, I'm not trying to say I didn't want them to win a finals, but like, I was really disappointed. And then I'm watching all these people go, you know what? And they're being realistic. And I'm like, you know what? They're not wrong. Like, this team just met their match. And sometimes you meet your match and it doesn't matter what the fuck you do. The Nuggets can play The Nuggets have not played well. They played and they're dominating. Like, if
they were just okay in those 2 games. Yeah. And for the Heat to lose by double digits in both, it's a little bit alarming, I guess, especially having to go back and face a team that's now 9-1 at home and had a phenomenal home record during the regular season. So a tall order, so to speak, no pun intended, with reference to basketball for the Miami Heat, who were up against it. I would give the Panthers an outside shot, maybe, of, can they win the series? Unlikely, but nonetheless, they're playing in just tremendously, overwhelmingly convincing odds that this isn't going to happen. 71-2 combined, the 2 series. A lot of other good stuff happening. We'll talk to Scoop Skolnick about tonight's Heat game. Is Scoop still traveling, or did he throw in the towel on that? He was in Denver for games 1 and 2. Where's he going to be? Is he going to join us from Denver, Colorado for this thing?
He's here. I think he's sort of mailed it in on traveling with the team. I think it's I don't know if it's their level of play or not. Maybe he wasn't. I know he's joining us, and
if you were just resigned to the idea that the Heat were going to lose a series tonight, tonight, and that was going to be it. And Spoelstra, puts up bold front, does he not? They keep asking him, how can you possibly win with these bunch of non-distinguished scrubs that you're throwing out there, these stiffs, Eric? And he keeps coming back to the same thing. Oh, these guys are highly competitive, and they believe.
Yeah, they've met their match.
Yeah,
and that happens. Like, that happens with teams that overachieve.
Bad matchup for him, right? Boston wasn't going to hurt you so badly inside, right?
Oh no,
with as you said, 100-year-old Alpha Horford and this Williams guy who like everybody makes him sound like he's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but he's just an average player in my opinion.
Yep.
And the Knicks really didn't have any overwhelming size on the inside. Certainly Milwaukee did, but they had a game and a half without Antetokounmpo.
Well, and Butler played like the guy the Heat needed in this round. Like,
Butler was out of his mind.
25 isn't going to do it versus the Bucks. 25 isn't going to do it versus the Nuggets. He averaged 40. Remember, he was averaging like,
and he couldn't miss on top of that.
Like, he was playing out of his mind. He got hurt versus the Knicks, and he hasn't been the same dude. Whether he's healthy now and just doesn't have it, whatever you want to attribute it to, that's fine.
Not getting to the line as much.
He's never getting the fact that he's not getting to the line at all. And that is his game, is finding a way to get to the line. The fact that his mid-range jumper is like 30% or less, which is a staple of his game. It plays him he needed to be superhuman for the Heat to even have a chance. Not win, just have a chance. And he hasn't been. He's been fine. But him averaging 23, like, that's not. He needs to average 32 to 35. No. He does. Like,
although here's a good omen for you, Libby, if you wanted to have an encouraging sign about tonight, because sports. What is this? Action Sports, which is now featured in my New York Post, and you know that we love to go against these guys. Anything they say, there's a pretty good chance it's not going to happen. There's a guy named Tanner McGrath writes this story, and he says that it's a real good bet to take Jimmy Butler under the prop bet on a number of points tonight, which I think is 26 and a hook.
Oh, no, he's going to go insane tonight. I don't think they're going to win, but I think Butler's going to do everything.
Think it's going to be all Butler?
He should. Hey, look, I've expected that this entire series, and he's proved me wrong the entire series. So maybe he doesn't have it. I don't know, but I expect him to just be a wild man, because this is their season. I mean, this is literally their season.
All right, and Denver would be acquiring and getting their first title ever in franchise history, first NBA title, and appear in a very positive position to do that. Cats go tomorrow night, and we'll see what happens. As I said in that Star series, up 3-0. Vegas lost the next 2 games, including Game 5 on their home ice. Bunch of other stuff. The Marlins writing a really good story. We'll get into that later on. We're going to talk to Scoop Skolnick here in a few minutes. And Scoop will embellish everything that there is to about illustrating how this series has gone and what it means and where do we go from here is always the question, Lubie, right? Where do we go from here? Which will be interesting to see what Pat Riley does with this team. There's talk about Damian Lillard, possibly from the Portland Trailblazers, which you would have to think would be a very positive addition for the Miami Heat. Does that change them dramatically enough, or do they just need another big man of some significance?
They need size, but see that what's funny is the 2 young guys they have are the exact thing they need, but they're like 1 to 2 years away. Like your Seven's like 7 feet tall and he's athletic. Jovic is like 6'10", actually has the frame to get big, can handle, and is somewhat athletic. They're literally the 2 things that would help big time in the series. But Jovic is a 19-year-old rookie who didn't play at all and was hurt most of the year. Your Seven's a 21 or 22-year-old third-year player who was hurt for 90% of the year, so he didn't play at all.
What about that guy from Latvia or whatever? Who's that?
Which one? Yeah, Jovic, right? What are you talking about?
No, not him. The big guy. He's like a 7'2" guy, isn't he?
I don't know. Those are the 2 young guys that have height that aren't playing that I think in the future would help. But they're just not ready now. So I don't know if they're going to go get size. They have them in their bullpen. They're just trying to, like they're minors. They're trying to just bring them along. Lillard would change everything. Lillard is what the Nuggets have, where if Jokic can't bring it, Murray, that's the thing about Bam, and I love Bam. And I'm hard on Bam because I see what he can be. He's not a number 2. He's a number 3. He's just not. Like, he gives you what he does, and he does his best, but he doesn't take over. Like, Murray can take over. If Jokic can't. The Heat don't have that. The Heat don't have a second guy that's going to take over. If Butler doesn't have it, they're fucked. And that's where getting a Lillard changes everything.
I don't know that I don't know that Butler can carry him against his team. He just hasn't been able to. I don't know whether it's injuries or just better defense. But they're not going for those ball fakes. He's not getting to the line. And, he's hitting a decent percentage of his shots, but just it's not enough. You need that supporting cast. You have to have one guy come up like Gordon did and just overwhelmingly shine in a game where he otherwise, it wouldn't be necessary for, somebody that was a supporting player to have that kind of game. I mean, it was necessary with Gordon. That was the biggest difference in that game. They just couldn't stop this guy. The Marlins are hot. 8 out of 9. They're 37-29, 3.5 back of the Braves, who I believe have the best record in baseball. The Atlanta Braves have been hot. They are 6 games ahead of the New York Mets. Imagine that. The Mets, who spent like $8 zillion of Steve Cohen's money to be a good team this year. And the Mets are stuck in that syndrome, too. How many guys could you name that got huge money, Lubie, on deals where they were traded and or came as a free agent? Huge money, and they have just, done pedestrian-like work since then. This Lindor is hitting like 220, I think, for the Mets. Been in the throes of an abysmal and lengthy slump. I don't know. I saw Juan Soto had a pretty good game, but has he been worth that kind of money? Everybody was talking about Juan Soto with the Padres now. When he was with the Nationals, as if he was the second coming of the Bambino. Have you seen that from him? I don't think so.
No, he's been underwhelming for what they paid him.
It was looking that way for Bryce Harper. I mean, you can't really, he actually had gotten to the point where he was producing, at a very high level after a couple of schmenky years. But then he had the Tommy John surgery, and I guess, he's back now. But, who knows how that's going to compromise him. DeGrom gets that huge deal and does nothing with it. Now, that would be more common of pitchers, but when you pay like $350 million for a guy and he's going to come in there and hit 210, you have to feel like, my God, we are doomed. And that's kind of where the Mets are at. The Diaz thing didn't help them. And they had what? Had they lost 7 in a row prior to a win over the weekend? I believe so. So the Marlins playing some really dynamite ball. Jorge Soler, the Jim Sarney special, 2 home runs in the game yesterday, 19 for the season. And he, I believe, now is second in Major League Baseball with 19 home runs behind Pete Alonso, who's out for a while with an injury for the Mets at 22. So that was big. They move on to Seattle tonight. Seattle, 31-33 on the season. So another opportunity for the Marlins to continue to impress people. And they do it with 2 dynamic ninth-inning rallies. One where they score 5 runs in the ninth after being down 1-0 going to that frame. And yesterday they rally in improbable fashion. You thought, what did you watch any of that, Lubie? I happened to catch the ninth inning of the game. And, you were resigned to the Marlins losing, right? They're bringing up Gene Segura, who's hitting well below the Mendoza line, and he's going to lead it off in the ninth inning. And you're thinking, don't you have anyone who can pinch hit? What about that guy Stallings? Oh, he's only hitting $1.25. So you thought the Marlins were out of plays, and sure enough, Segura leads off with a home run, his first of the season. And then they follow up with a rally against this guy, Graveman, who was aptly named because he put the White Sox right in their grave. Wouldn't you be reluctant to call the bullpen and say, give me Graveman? Unless, of course, that was a reference to the fact that he was shutting everybody down. And you may as well, be writing an obituary for the other team. But he got shelled. Dela Cruz with a 2-run double, and the Marlins win it 6-5. So that was big. French Open, you have to tip your hat to Novak Djokovic. No, Djokovic. It's not. It's Joker, and then it's Joker.
Yes.
But the Joker, I didn't think he would win the French Open. I really didn't believe he was going to win it. And I didn't think he'd get by Alcaraz either. But Alcaraz started cramping up after 2 sets, 2 bloodbath sets. And the Joker just, he's a machine, Lubie. 36 years old, I believe now, and 23 Grand Slam events for the Joker. That was phenomenal. Okay, so Leslie says it's Swiatek. Swiatek. This Iga Swiatek.
I've never heard anyone pronounce it that way. I mean, I always defer to her, but I've never heard a human pronounce. Like you watch the matches
with a schmenk kind of word to it, an SCH word.
I know
Leslie hates that.
You watch the matches. Do they ever call her that?
I've never heard her called Swiatek. No.
You watch the matches, like you're addicted to the tennis.
Did she suddenly come out and say, "Hey, listen, it's Swiatek"?
Look,
after everybody was calling her Swiatek and Swiatek and whatever. Iga, I go with Iga now. I'm not even sure that that's the correct pronunciation. It could be Iga. I believe it's Iga. Iga Swiatek.
Yeah.
Anyway, Swiatek just made short work. I actually, she was in a competitive match. I can't say she made short work. She won the first set and then lost the second set to, now unless he's telling me that Mukova is actually pronounced Muhova. Well, what the hell happened, man? What did she go to a Berlitz course, Leslie Visser? I want to believe that what she's saying is actually fact, no? Who would you trust more, me or Leslie Visser?
Oh, her, obviously, but I just have never heard anyone pronounce. I've heard people say her name and never heard that ever. Like
I've never heard Swiatek. Anyway, she's great. I won her French Open back-to-back now. I think that was her 3rd title. So, hats off to her. Did you see who was in Joker's box, Lubie, at the French Open?
No.
I'll give you one guess. It would be another that people would consider to be possibly the greatest of all time.
Federer was in? Federer?
No. Crossover sport.
Oh, no. Brady?
Brady.
Oh, God.
The Brady factor. And at first I thought, well, maybe, Brady's, because he was sitting with like Joker's wife, who he's been with for quite some time. And yet you were thinking, oh, wow, that's going to spark some rumors. No? Here's Brady in the box with like a hot chick. But it was Joker's wife, and he just happened to be there. Brady looks good, by the way, man. Did he intimate that he was coming back somehow? Or did people just want to make a circus out of it every time he opens his mouth?
He did the opposite. He came out and said, I'm done. Like, you guys can keep doing this, but I'm done. I'm not playing. I'm done.
Because once again, people are leaning on ESPN Sports Center. Well, did Tom Brady indicate he's coming back? Could be going to the Jets to back up Aaron Rodgers and win another championship. That'd be something, huh? I didn't buy it, but he looks good, man. I mean, whatever he's doing, I want to get. Never mind Mayo and his keto diet. I want to get on that Brady thing. Could you follow that level of discipline to look that good at 45 after being crushed for 20 years in the NFL? This guy should look like Jim Otto. I know, he did get hit. I mean, it's not like he never got touched, Brady. I mean, he got trampled many times, especially behind that Tampa Bay offensive line. If Giselle couldn't convince him to retire, just looking at those slugs, they had injuries. I know they had injuries, Lubie, but nonetheless, he was there in a box. I could hear Susan Wallman in my head the whole time. Is that Roger and George's box? Didn't you? You didn't think that? Oh, you don't watch his stuff.
No, I watched not a second of it.
All right,
I'm good.
it's of no meaning to you. They're on the grass now. I always love the beginning of grass court tournaments. I gotta go and you can see it in the reflection there, and there are a couple of them going on around Europe right now. I guess do they have Stuttgart? I'm not sure. The one that I'm watching is the Libema Open. Where's Libema? Is that a city or is that a product? What is that, Libby? Libema. Anyway, the court looks so magnificent when they first start, and then that's before they trample the ground, and all of a sudden it looks like your backyard after there's been no rain for 6 days in the summer, and all the grass is dead. But anyway, that's going to lead up to Wimbledon, which now should have an added twist because your man Nick Kyrgios is making his comeback in one of these tournaments. He's been out for 8 months. Pretty tough on the grass, though, this kid. And the Canadian Open was great yesterday. I don't know. Should we be boycotting PGA events, Libby, after the sellout? What do you think?
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not watching. I don't care. What they just did was it's abhorrent.
All right, we'll get into that a little bit later on because a bunch of stuff happening there. And Mayweather Gotti, another circus at the South Florida. I guess it's the Florida Live Arena in Sunrise, right here in our hometown. He's fighting like John Gotti's grandson, Gotti III. Which it turned out maybe some of the tactics with Gotti have been passed down from father to son all the way down to grandson because a melee broke out. I mean, they ended up in a riot in a ring there. It looked like the final moments of a WWE show where everybody comes running into the ring. All right, we're going to come back. Scoop Skolnick going to join us here in just a moment. Back with that in a moment. Now that
The time.
7:38.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
I have sinned against you, my Lord.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. Peel yourself off the mat Monday here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz. And is that Casper Ruud joining us right now? Did you see any facial resemblance between you and the Norwegian tennis star who was in the French Open final yesterday?
I've never been compared to a Norwegian before. I will say that was the first time.
Not surprising. Yeah, I mean, most of us Jews, have very few similarities to, the appearance of Norwegian blood. But all right, and is that a room in Denver or is that a room in the Scoop?
No, I'm home. I'm home. I did not make this particular trip for a variety of reasons. None of which have anything to do with not wanting to watch another team celebrate a championship because I've done that before. But it was. To go out there for the one game, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense, and so I'm here for a couple of days, and then we'll see if there's a game 7, I'll go.
Oh yeah, all right.
But right now, I don't. I'm not anticipating that.
No, I mean, and this is not a good omen, and neither was Bernie getting knocked out by Conor McGregor. I mean, when your mascot needs a standing 8 count, Which I mean, did they kind of just make light on that? They dragged the guy off the floor as part of the bit. Did you see this, or were you?
No. Not only did I see it, I'm the one who videoed it, and the video was used on the local stations all over the place because
okay, cool.
Yeah, no, because I videoed it because it was honestly the stupidest thing I've ever seen the Heat do. And I don't. I mean, they don't typically screw that kind of. That was very Marlins-esque, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't want to mock them too much because they're playing well too. But I mean, I'm just in terms of the history of the organization. Like, I don't know what the idea was. First thing, you're running a sponsor event during the NBA Finals, which is just crass. Okay,
For some spray pain cream, which none of that stuff works anyway. I can attest to that.
Correct. Second, everybody hates Conor McGregor. So, like, why? I mean, you've got Dwayne Wade in the building. You've got like, people who've been there the whole year. Why are you promoting? I felt bad for Jax. Like, and then because he's got to go through this whole stage thing there. And then people were booing before Bernie got punched. That's the thing. Like, that's what I was videoing. Like, nobody liked that thing. And then you're punching your beloved mascot. Like, what? Like, I
may as well have had Jokic do it.
Correct, or his brothers. Yeah,
his brothers. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking, and then so that was even before he got hurt. And then what's funny was there's somebody that I follow on who I'm friendly with. I follow with on Twitter who works kind of inside the Heat organization somewhere, and he says that there's going to be something that comes off of this game that has nothing to do with this game. That's going to be a story. And it's funny. I'm like, wait, did Bernie get hurt? Like, that's the first thing that I thought of.
Yes.
And then Sam Amick, who actually we had on the podcast yesterday from The Athletic, reported about him going to the hospital and all the rest of this. And this, I don't know. It's just embarrassing. I'm stupid. Hopefully they never do anything like that again.
Was Pat Riley aware that this was happening? I mean, there's nothing that gets by him. I mean,
well,
how could he possibly allow that to go on?
He usually is aware of all of this stuff. Actually, I tell these stories about how I had a friend of mine who she used to design, like she helped design like the locker room and stuff like that. And she told me the horror stories of working with Pat because like he wants to know every single detail.
Yeah.
And like, it was like the trophy had to be etched into the shower just a certain way, like all this, like Pat. People don't think Pat is on top of all that stuff, but he is. I mean, yes, a lot is delegated, but he knows everything that's going on in the organization. So I can't imagine that he was not aware that his mascot was going to get cold cocked. But
is the marketing guy still employed?
I don't know, but the thing is, all their people have been there forever, so they don't do stupid things like this usually. That's what was so annoying about it, I guess.
Seemed like something that Stephen Ross would have cooked up with his
Yes,
crew.
exactly.
It feels Dolphins. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe as well have had Tim Tebow come out there and knock out the mascot. All right, that is obviously the fodder that we've used to dodge the obvious, which is that, the Flowers look like they're in a punch here, going back to Denver for tonight's Game 5. I thought Denver would win this series in 5. I didn't think they'd lose on their homewood. And I thought they'd probably split these two games in South Florida. How would you characterize these last two ball games, which it was kind of methodical? I don't know that Denver did anything particularly explosive in either of those games, but they just nudged their way away, throughout. And ended up winning by double digits both times.
Yeah, I mean, they're just better. Is it really? I mean, sometimes
could be organization. Yeah.
So sometimes we overanalyze this stuff. It's just. I think what we saw with Miami was, they had an incredible run through the East, carried by Jimmy Butler, adrenaline, and timely play from their role guys, and. So let's look at what's happening here. Okay, the Jimmy Butler thing is kind of cooked. Like Jimmy, at this point is a good player. He can't put you on his back right now with the ankle and the fatigue and everything else that he's dealing with. I don't think he has that game in him. Like we were talking on our show on 5 on the Floor. Does he have 3 of them in him? I mean, I don't think. I mean, I don't know if he has 1. And then. You look at the adrenaline, and I think the word you mentioned, methodical, is a good word. I think a lot of what carried them through the East was, this frenzy they got themselves into for Milwaukee, which they had a history with. The Knicks, obviously, you had that kind of media crush and everything else, and people hyping up New York and MSG and everything else. And then Boston, who obviously there's considerable history with, right? And then you go, okay, we're going to play this team in the West in Denver. We're going to do it after we squander a 3-0 lead against Boston, so we end up getting no rest. Denver comes in 9 days rested, altitude. Team that you don't really have this kind of enmity towards, because there's no history there. I mean, the one game with the Markieff Morris thing, but nobody cares about that. So it's just kind of like Denver is just like they're just methodical. Like that's what they are. Like and they're better than everybody else this year, but it didn't really get recognized for a bunch of reasons. One of which was they didn't win 60 games; they won 53.
Right.
Because they kind of shut it down in the last month a little bit, and so that skewed things some. But also, everybody was waiting for some more hyped team or player in the West to overtake them, and it just never happened. Like Memphis, okay, Ja's going to get his bleep together. No, that didn't happen, right? Okay, so the Clippers, Kawhi and Paul George are finally going to get healthy. No, that didn't happen. The Lakers kind of happened. I mean, they had the trade that made them more dynamic, but they still weren't what I think the media wanted them to be. With with LeBron and AD are going to return to what they used to be 3-4 years ago. Didn't happen, right? And then you look at Phoenix. Okay, they get Durant. Okay, and they're going to just blow through everybody. Yeah, but Chris Paul gets hurt again, and Ayton doesn't care, and they have no bench, and so it's kind of like. So everybody was waiting for one of those 4 or 5 teams in the Western Conference to just kind of turn it on and beat this team in Denver that they don't really understand, and it never happened. And so, the Nuggets show up on the other side, and they've got a guy who literally, if he gets 30 points and 14 assists tonight and they win, will have averaged a 30-point triple-double for the entire playoffs.
Wow.
He's right now at 30 points, 13 rebounds, and 9.8 assists for the entire playoffs. That's 19 games. Then you have a second guy in Jamal Murray, who he did a decent job on last game, but to me is the most underrated player in the entire league. And then you got a guy in Aaron Gordon, who was the number 1 in Orlando. I mean, not a great one, obviously, but he was not. And now he's your number 3 or your number 4, and they're well coached. They don't step out of place. They know who their 2 stars are. They get them the ball. The Heat weren't going to beat this team. I just think that's where we're at this stage. Like I said, unless Jimmy was just supernova Jimmy, and we're not getting that guy. He's been under 50% from the field in 12 out of 13 games. We talked about this in the last show, and it's continued. And it's just he can't get to the level. Few guys in history have gotten to the level Jimmy's gotten to recently, but he can't get to it right now with his physical state. I don't believe, and that's so. And without him, they don't have anybody else who can do it.
Well, and he was going to the free throw line 12, 15
Yeah.
times a game. It seemed like in the early stages of the playoffs, they're just not going for those triple head fakes that you had mastered along the baseline many years ago, Skolnick, when you were an unguardable product.
That's true.
Out of
I didn't ask anybody to guard me. That's
yeah. All right. So it sounds like you feel the same way that everybody else does. That this thing is toast as of tonight. Lubie has gone almost MAGA Republican in defense of the Trump indictment, saying, "Well, after thinking that they were in there with a shot, they shouldn't have been there anyway. So we should resign ourselves to the idea that this still was very favorable." And I would have to say, just as a sports fan, obviously in our area, and we're doing talk shows for a living, it gives you a lot more ammunition to go into than saying, "Well, did you see that Marlin game last night?" Well,
right.
Normally at this stage of the season, they'd be mathematically eliminated. We'd be talking about Dolphin training camp.
Right.
I think, well, it's only about 6 weeks away there from the OTAs. But what would you say about the season overall? And let's not presume they're going to lose tonight, but
Right.
Let's say they lose the series. Where does that leave them? Everybody was speculating before they even made the postseason. Well, what's Pat Riley got to do? To get them on track for next year. What is it that they need, and do they have the means to acquire it?
Well, I mean, I think that the overall season now has to be looked at as a success. Obviously, you make the finals, it's a success. I think we, this was a very frustrating season, and a lot of that's going to be put to the side now, which is good. I mean, that they made the season matter, and I give them credit for that. And obviously, Jimmy proved again that if he's healthy, he can carry you somewhere, and there was progress made from some others. But I don't think they were going to fool themselves anyway. I really don't. I think it's pretty clear that, if they would just give Eric Spoelstra more tools to work with,
Wouldn't be fair.
that that they would come to this place with a much better chance. And so, look, you look at their assets and their non-assets. I think one of the things that's happened here over the postseason is that both Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson have at least made themselves flat assets, whereas both were negative assets before. And so that will be helpful as they're looking to make a move this offseason. And then there's the Tyler Hero question, which in some ways kind of resolved itself. Because look, they like Tyler, but they signed him into that contract, kind of with the idea that it could go either way. That either he was going to become a core third piece for them, or he was going to be a tradable deal. And so I feel like now we're leaning more towards the latter. And again, it's not all Tyler's fault. It's just, you can't look past the fact that they found the game and kind of a rhythm without him, and doesn't mean they couldn't have used him. Again, this series, I believe they could have, but I think they look at it and say, okay, what if we get somebody, that we can count on more than Tyler, just from a consistency standpoint and defensively, and then to a certain degree availability. Although, again, I don't really count, falling on the floor and hurting your hand against you.
No.
But it is true that he wasn't really healthy last postseason, and he wasn't healthy this postseason. And so Pat does take that kind of thing into consideration. So I think they're going to explore pretty much everything. Obviously, Dame is the name out there, and we had Sam Amick on, and he said pretty much what I've heard from others around the league, which is that if Portland doesn't trade that number 3 pick for somebody who Dame feels is a suitable number 2 to him in Portland, that can give him a chance. Okay, and I don't know what kind of chance he'll have in the West, but whatever. Okay, then he's probably going to ask for that trade finally, and so. He's intimated, that Miami is the place he wants to go, or one of the places. And, people kind of know this is not a secret. Chris Haynes and him are very close. That was Chris Haynes' guy. Chris was kind of rising up the ranks. Dame and him have been friends for years. And Chris Haynes is the one reporting Miami the most right now. And so and I know Chris well, and he wouldn't do that if it wasn't legitimate. So I feel like everything is kind of moving in that direction, similar to what we heard with Jimmy Butler 4 years ago. And so now it kind of becomes, okay, does he force it enough that Portland sends him where he wants to go, as opposed to sending him somewhere else? Because these guys don't always get sent where they want to go. I mean, Kawhi wasn't sent where he wanted to go a few years ago, but he made the best of it. He won a championship in Toronto. It doesn't always work out that way. And sometimes teams can be spiteful. For example, Kyrie, the Nets owner this year sent him to Dallas. He wanted to go to LA, so don't count on it. But I honestly, there's more smoke than there's ever been. And so if that's the case, can you get him for Hero, one of your contracts picks, or do you trade Hero for picks somewhere else, then send them to Portland? Because I feel like that's the direction that Portland's going to want to go. You also have Jovic, who they like a lot. But you may have to move him to get something work. You may have to trade Caleb Martin, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of different options, but I think that we're headed towards a Dame conversation summer here. I think that's where we're going.
And look, and Defo hates when I do this. And it's funny that you started doing it with him and his question. We are still in the finals. The Heat are there, and they have a game tonight. So to look ahead, may be a little presumptuous. But again, the series feels like it is what it is. Even if they some miraculously win, it doesn't feel like the Heat are winning the series. It's just, look, it's good to hear you say that, because the Heat in the past, as we've seen a couple of times, have fooled themselves to believe the team they have is good enough. And getting to the finals was an amazing achievement. And I'm not trying to poo-poo this series. It's just the last 3 series I could see a way, especially once they won game 1 versus the Bucks.
Right.
This series, it was really hard to find a way, especially when you could see Butler wasn't the same dude. Whatever reason, he's not the same guy, and they're already shorthanded without Hero. So it was really going to be hard for me to see them find a way to win this series. So it's great that they got here, but my fear was, okay, now they've seen all these young guys do all these things. The East still is strong, and these teams are going to come back, and the Bucks are just going to be again. So you're going to see what you saw, I think, a couple years ago out of them. And the West is strong. Like, to just assume this is a roster that's going to win going forward scared the crap out of me, to be brutally honest. It's good to hear that they realize, look, we capped out. This isn't the James Johnson, Deion Waiters. Like, we know where we are with this group, and we know we need more. I'm curious, do you see them being that aggressive, where they realize, look, we got to go. Butler has 2-3 years left, and we really have to do it now. We can't just keep waiting on these rotation guys.
Well, some of it has to do with money, right? Like, I mean, how much is Mickey going to spend? Like, that's part of this. So when you say how aggressive, I think that plays into it. I think that, he's always said, and Pat has always kind of, echoed this when Pat spoke. He hasn't spoke to us about the team in almost a year at this point.
2-3 years. Yeah.
Is that what he's typically said is that, they'll spend if they think Mickey will spend if he thinks he can win a championship. Now, okay, I don't know how much closer you have to get. Like, they were within a shot of the finals last year. They're in the finals this year. It's pretty damn close. I mean, they're not the Orlando Magic, So to me, you have to spend. I mean, I keep watching that Carnival stock price, and it's creeping up over.
Yeah, people are cruising again, aren't they?
Yeah, it's creeping up.
One thing when you had COVID, and nobody was going out on a boat.
Right. Exactly. Well, I think we all want to escape what's going on in this country right now. But yeah, 13. So we'll see if the city still exists after Tuesday. But 13, $14 a share now. So it's not the 52 that it used to be, but it's not 8 either. Look, I feel like they owe it to the fans at this point to go all in. I do, and they owe it to Jimmy. And so we'll see if they actually do. But I mean, if Dame Lillard's out there, I don't know how you justify not paying the expense for that. I mean, you look at Dame, Dame's situation. Look, Dame this year was every bit as good as he was 3 years ago. I mean, he had an injury, but then he came back this season. He ain't the problem there, and they're not going to win a title with him. The closest they came was that conference finals and kind of a fluky Western Conference a couple years ago. It's not going to be repeated. He doesn't have anybody as good as CJ there anymore. I like Shaedon Sharpe. I like Anthony Simons. They're not as good as CJ, in my opinion. They don't have enough in the front court. He can't get it all in one off season out there. So I do think he's going to push to finally leave. I think, to me, it's a KG situation in a lot of ways. KG was incredibly loyal to Minnesota until he wasn't. And he had to be convinced to leave, and then he did. And then what happened? He won a championship. You put Dame, on this team, and then we're not as concerned about Jimmy, not scoring 40 because it just looks different. And, in terms of, and we're not as concerned about Bam kind of going in a shell sometimes, because as a number 3, damn, I'll take that. He's better than Aaron Gordon as a number 3, right? So I feel like, that everything moves in that direction. And again, will there be some regrets if you move Tyler and Tyler becomes an all-star somewhere else? Sure. But that's the price that they've always paid before. They've traded the really good player, the Glenn Rice, to get the Alonzo Mourning, the Lamar Odom and the Caron Butler to get the Shaquille O'Neal. This is the same, they traded Josh Richardson and not much else. I still don't know how they pulled that off to get Jimmy. But that's kind of where they're at right now is okay, you're going to have to give up something to get something that is more ready to win this moment. And Dame Lillard is ready, has been ready to win a championship for a long time. And so I just feel that's the direction. You got to pay for it. There's no excuse. And I don't think they'll make an excuse for that. I think if they don't get Dame, you could see him just kind of play around the edges here a little bit again. It's going to frustrate Heat fans, but again, the player has to be available to you. You got to go all in on the player. You don't get the player, then you kind of see what you do.
All right, Ethan Skolnick, 5 Reasons Sports Network, special guest here, and always a pleasure having him on talking hoops. Quick thought, I know you guys are following the Panthers, and they also appear to be up against it, going to Vegas. We didn't know Wayne Newton was alive. He rang the siren. You got Michael Buffer out there telling people to get ready to rumble. We think they might even dig up Liberace tonight and have him start the festivities. They did lose a Game 5 against Dallas when they were up at the time 3-1 after being up 3-0 in that series. They came back and distinguished themselves by shellacking Dallas in the subsequent game. Are the Heat alive with a chance in this series at all? And do you see the Panthers, do you see them having a shot tonight or tomorrow night against Las Vegas?
Well, I give them a better chance than the Heat. I'll say that. I feel like that series is much more even. I know it didn't look like it the first 2 games, but I also felt like a lot of that was rust for the Panthers. They took them a while to kind of regain their edge. But look, game 3 they played very well. Game 4 they should have won. I thought. They they outplayed Vegas the second half of that game. I thought they got the benefit. Well, not the benefit. I thought Vegas got the benefit of the officiating late in that game. I think and also hockey is, we know, much less predictable in that regard.
Very abstract.
Bob has a good game, and he has played well the last 2 games in my view. I don't think 2 of the 3 goals in the last game were not his fault, and I thought he played very well in the game before. He held him in it. So I feel like they can compete with that team. Now, winning 3 straight is going to be really difficult. They have a similar problem to the Heat right now, is that their best player is not 100%. Kachuk's dealing with a shoulder, and it's clear he doesn't want to get hit. And that's crazy. He's such a madman. Like, he doesn't want to – he looked like he didn't want to get hit. He wanted to get off the puck. And then he's going at it with guys after the whistle, after the game is over. But he doesn't look 100% to me. And he really – he's been their engine more than Barkov. And more than Verhaeghe, who has really only had the 1 goal and not much else. And Bennett hasn't been great. I mean, a lot of their guys have kind of hit the wall too, honestly. And so there's going to be some reevaluations made after the season. But I give them a chance to get the thing back. I give them a better chance to bring it back to Sunrise than I give the Heat a chance to get it back to Miami. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, our problem with it is, what we've experienced is maybe much more so than Lubie, who is not really a Vegas guy, but the 2-night, 3-day stay in Las Vegas is probably the most deadly kind of trip that you could take, because nothing good happens, on the 2-night stay. You're too excited. And, I guess, they're going to be out there for a couple of nights before they get this thing going. But is Vegas in hockey the equivalent of South Beach in basketball, would you say?
I think it's worse. Yeah.
Worse. Okay. The opportunities are massive there to get into some kind of a
it's been a long time since anybody from out of town got into trouble in South Beach.
Yeah.
Really, right? I don't even know where South Beach is anymore. I avoid it to such a degree.
True too.
Like,
I haven't been there in years.
I don't go across 395, and I'll say this: like, everybody thinks everybody plays there. And Messi plays at South Beach too, when he actually plays next to a Miami Grill and a 7-Eleven off Commercial Boulevard. I don't. The Vegas thing is real, though. I think the Vegas thing is real. You get stuck in one of those casinos, and it's like you lose track of time. Then they put clocks on the wall. Like,
there's no clocks. There's no lights.
Zero. Yeah. Nothing. I think that's by design.
It is. It is.
Well, we know that, but
yeah.
All right. Well, it's been very exciting, and you would have to say that the Panthers certainly got people a little bit more enthusiastic and put hockey for however briefly it lasts here in South Florida. They at least put hockey on the map where people might be inclined to start paying attention to them again next year. Scoop, always a pleasure, my friend. All right. You know what? You're not alone in thinking that the Casper Ruud thing was a stretch.
Yeah, it's like
I sent that picture out to a bunch of people. Nobody responded and said, "Yeah, it looks just like."
No, I did. You know what? I'll say this though. I used to get compared to Craig Counsell.
Craig Counsell. Wow. Yeah. Okay. A little bit of resemblance there. Much more handsome, much more dynamic looking than Craig Counsell.
Well, I mean, the nose is bad, but it's not that bad.
And Craig's a little pasty, huh? I mean, it was all those afternoons in South Bend. I mean, he's a little pasty. He never got used to the sunshine down here. Always a pleasure. What do you have cooking on 5 Reasons today? I would imagine
everything and anything. Actually, we got a watch party tonight at Tropical Distillers in Alapata, about 10 minutes outside of Miami. So we'll be there around 7
Where's
o'clock
Alapata?
tonight.
Which direction?
West.
North?
Slightly west, yes. So they're kind of doing to Alapata what they did to Wynwood a little bit.
It sounds like you're out in the swamp there, Alapata.
Yeah. It's a warehousey type place, but it's actually, who owns the place? The Pouncey brothers.
That's funny.
Oh yeah.
So it's we've done a couple watch parties there before. Should be a good time. We said either way, either we're gonna drink to an incredible win, or we're gonna drink to the season, or we're just gonna drink to drink. And that's pretty much how it goes.
So you can hang out with Scoop Skolnick there at the watch party. You guys were very successful with that. I remember when you first started 5 Reasons, you were holding watch parties, and I'd look and go, wow, look at that. People showed up. Incredible.
I was surprised too.
Yeah.
One of your sponsors, actually, Texas Roadhouse, was
Oh,
that was
yeah,
our
yeah,
original
they're
watch
great.
party spot in
Yeah,
Middletown.
they're really good. Yeah, I mean, we always got the same thing. Whenever Louie and I were doing something like that, it was the manager would come over and very sheepishly approach you with the idea that and ask you, so guys, I thought you had a following,
Oh, right.
and we were like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, they might come
Yeah.
later. I don't know. I don't think you publicize this thing so well, But anyway, good luck with that, Ethan, and we'll talk again soon. And we'll get your what a lot of people think are going to be a postscript on tonight's game and tonight's and the series for the championship with the Heat being eliminated tonight in Denver. All right, thanks so much, Ethan. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right, Ethan Skolnick.
He goes on at 8:30. At 8:30, he does his own show on 5 Reasons Sports Network. So check if you want more of Scoop. You can switch between us and Scoop at 8:30.
It's funny. Everybody can see what's going on, and you wonder if the Heat are going to be able to pull it off, right? I mean, does Riley have one more sort of magnificent move that he can make as a sports executive? And you ask yourself, it is weird because when he first came here, obviously as coach, he was quite a frequent visitor to all of the sports talk that was going on in town and made himself readily available. There were tons of Riley quotes in the newspapers. And he was very, very accessible. And naturally, I mean, because like Spoelstra, I mean, he's holding press conferences all the time. But he was more than willing. I mean, we used to have him on the radio on a fairly regular basis.
At least once a year, every year, if not. And that was in my time. Before me, I'm sure you had.
Before that, no, he was. I wouldn't say he was on all the time, but he'd be around like maybe once a month or so. You could count on a Pat Riley interview, and it was always extremely enlightening. I mean, spellbinding as you sat there and just listened to the guy's response to whatever question you ask, even if it was a stupid one. And Riley would somehow have this eloquent, a dissertation about how this applied to your life and principles that you could apply to raising your children. And you're like, what? Well, we're talking about a pick and roll here, Pat. This is amazing. So, but that he hasn't spoken about the team in like a year. And have we seen Riley say anything at all? Can anybody get to this guy? Because you're wondering, I mean, why would he still be sticking around unless he felt he had one more move? And then Scoop's point is well taken, right? You're an eyelash away from making finals last year, and you make it this year, regardless of method and what the trip was like getting there. And so you would have to think that this is a highly successful season, in spite of the fact that prior to the postseason and with 4 minutes to go in that Chicago game, you were thinking, my God.
Yeah, it was a disaster. They salvaged this year. I think it was the best case of everything. Look, winning would be better, obviously, but without winning a title, it's the best case because what you did was most of us, like I own it. I was ready to just have the season end. It wasn't about tanking. I knew they weren't getting Wemby. I was just sick of watching a team I knew could be better be that bad. It just was infuriating to see them be so bad. So they saved that, right? We don't feel like that anymore. We feel like, wow, this is a season to build on. Amazing. Yeah. They also, remember, Caleb Martin did not grow this year before the playoffs. Did not grow this year. Vincent, you didn't know what the fuck Vincent was. Strus had been Robinson wasn't even in the rotation, and Lowry was useless, right? Those 5 guys going into the playoffs, you were making the joke, and it was valid that they would call for teams to take these guys, and they'd hang up on Riley. Like those 5 guys all had great runs in the playoffs to where their value has skyrocketed. So now you feel better, and you did lose, so you still want to make moves, and those guys are way more valuable than they ever were. So you do actually have a shot at getting a Dame or getting someone of that caliber, which you couldn't have even thought imaginable going into before the playoffs.
Well, it's funny. I keep thinking of Rick Spielman calling Andy Reid, inquiring about AJ touchy-feely. Reid probably immediately, when he realized what was going on there, they called all of his assistants in and even the office people into the office there and put them on speakerphone and said, watch this. I'm gonna bilk them for everything they got for AJ fucking Feely. And you could see that happening, right? Where, here you have one of the most esteemed guys in NBA history, especially in terms of being able to, generate. Even if you hate Pat Riley, you have to respect, how cerebral he is about all of this stuff. And you would imagine that this was a big joke for a lot of these GMs around the league, right? He's calling Utah, and and no, he wouldn't call Utah because Danny Ainge has left a stench there as far as Riley is concerned. But maybe even with the Dwayne Wade connection, or wouldn't you think that you could take advantage of Minnesota now that A-Rod's a part of that team? Is he a majority owner, A-Rod, or he's in partnership? I mean, what kind of piece does he have there? But they had to be laughing, right? I mean, yeah, you know what he wants to do? He wants us to take Duncan Robinson with Dedmon. And, the only thing you could possibly want to get back in return is the contract of deceased players, which is a hot commodity in the NBA. All right, we're going to come back. A lot more to do here on the program. Later on, Craig Minervini. We can't guarantee Craig's appearance. How suspect would you say that is, Lubie? I mean, most of our guys we know we're lining up with. Minervini, as much as we love the guy, and he's an extremely likable individual, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in the history of your existence, Craig Minervini of Bally Sports, Florida. No, he doesn't get involved. Does he get involved in Bally Sports Sun? I don't think so. Just doing Panthers and Marlins games. Does a great job. A phenomenal TV performer. Really terrific. A very professional job at anything that he attempts. And he's scheduled to join us about 8:45. And you're saying what, Lubie? I mean, it was a stiff job the last time. We went crazy promoting Minnie's appearance on the show. And then when did you hear from him? About noon?
I reached out to him yesterday. He got back to me. He was trying to do a later time, and I said, that is our latest time.
Yeah. So we're not going overtime for you, Minnie, in other words, is what you said. Iron Eagle, that's a whole other story. Now, we love Minervini. We would stick around for him.
I would have. I just figured.
But for 15 minutes differential, let the guy get up or decline the interview, right? But and he's all over it. He was out in Vegas. I think, I'm not sure if it was for both of the first two games of the playoff series with the Cats. But it was at least the first one. I would imagine he stayed over the weekend, right? Those games were only 2 nights apart. And, I think he was there for both games. Came back here. And this is a hardworking man, Lubie. And this is when the business is a lot of fun, too, when you're busy. Because he came back from Vegas and took a red eye and then did like a Marlins telecast that day. Later on that day. And that might have been the day that he was scheduled to be with us. So we'll get the perspective on both of those teams. The Panthers, and I would imagine he gives them a big shot tonight. Oh, yeah, they can turn it around. Is that unfair? I mean, can they not turn it around, Lubie? Is it possible? Do you see it?
I can see
I see them losing tonight, and yet I don't want to see that. I really don't.
The Panthers tomorrow. I can see the Panthers. The Heat I see losing tonight. The Panthers.
Yeah, that's tomorrow night, yeah.
Winning tomorrow and then coming back, and now you're home 3-2. Maybe they can win at home. And then losing 7. I'm like Scoop, and we've talked about heading into this series where I give them a better chance than the Heat. They haven't been totally dominated. They've been in the series. They just, outside of that third period, really haven't played entire periods. So we'll see. I feel like it's over just because it seems like the Knights have just enough to outlast them. That's what we're seeing in almost every game, is that the Knights have just enough to outlast them. And Kachuk is not the same dude. He's just that last game. I mean, that's why they woke up. He woke up in the third period, but he was non-existent the first 2 periods. I was like, where the fuck is Kachuk? Like, you never heard his name at all.
Did he skate off for a while? Or was that game or the game before?
It was the game before.
Where Kachuk left, in like the first period. He was getting crushed. I mean, they made sure.
Yeah, game 3.
This guy, you talk about having a bullseye on your ass. I mean, they made sure that they pounded Kachuk, especially after that hitting out on Jack Eichel in the second game in Las Vegas. All right, well, it'll be fun to watch no matter what. I mean, unless the Panthers just get annihilated tonight. But the last couple of games were, games that obviously could have gone either way, which they did. And it was 1-1 Splitsky. You looked at the finish of that game. You thought, wow, these guys are going to do it again. Were you not feeling that a little bit when they got to 3-2 early in the third period?
Yeah, I thought that was it.
They're gonna do it again because for some reason Vegas had stopped its momentum. They did get any number of shots that they could have scored on and iced the game and made it 4-2, which you thought was going to be.
Bob had woken up.
Yeah,
that was the Bob that we saw versus the Hurricanes. Where
I think Marchessault had a breakaway, and you had any number of other guys. I mean, just absolutely flashed right in front of the net. Got the puck with no interference whatsoever, and boom, couldn't knock it home. kept shooting it right into the chest of Bobrovsky.
Yep. Bobrovsky was ready. Yep.
It is abstracto hockey. I mean, if you've learned anything from watching an excessive amount of playoff hockey now, I mean, it's so bizarre, is it not?
Crazy stuff. Look, that one goal was ridiculous. That's why I was like, I can't even get, like, the Knights were laughing, and I'm like, you should. You're up 3-0. They've done nothing on offense. They've done nothing on defense at that point. And the one goal, he doesn't even shoot.
Montori, he's not even shooting the puck. He's just trying to get it out of that scrum on the boards.
He's not even aiming it at the net. It just happens to two dudes. Okay, so you're in control. If you're the Knights, you're up 3-1. Who gives a shit? Like that. It was like, this is the only way you're scoring. It was actually almost defeated me a little because I thought they had this great goal. Maybe they'll have. Then I'm like, that's how you score. Yeah. You can't count on that.
A double ricochet off of two defensive guys that weren't really under like a lot of pressure when the puck hit off both guys. No. Just a bizarre, and that's often the difference in these games, a bizarre bounce of the puck. But that put them back in it, and they did capitalize on that because now you're thinking, all right, if the Panthers can get the next goal, they have, and they did it with plenty of time left in the third period.
Yep.
And couldn't cash in on anything else. Hill was really good in the pipes from that point on as well to shut them down. And then they had what? They had a 6-on-4 at the very end there for the last 17 seconds. And it looked like they were going to cash in, but Tkachuk whiffed on a shot right in front of the net. Yeah. Maybe he wasn't in a great position to knock it home. And then he had Bennett get stuffed 2 times, but I think both of those were after the after the clock had expired. So that would have been really deflating. The puck goes in and then they wave it off. After you thought you were sending it in overtime, where the Panthers were undefeated, 7-0 in OT. All right, a lot to talk about here on the show. Craig Minervini, hopefully going to join us about 8:45. Stick with us. We'll come back and peruse some of the other things that were happening in sport over the weekend. Been spectacular. I'm going to miss it, Lubie. If it ends on Tuesday, all of these playoff runs, are you not going to miss talking about that every morning here on the show?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we're starting to look at other things, right? Women's track and field, stuff like that. Although, I mean, you know what? Great training and a testament to, your ability to come up with shit on the fly. 9 months or whatever it was of no sports with COVID. Was it 6 months? And everybody, wow, what are you going to talk about? That used to be a big thing. As soon as the football season would end, everybody would start speculating as to what nothing there would be to talk about and write about, I guess, too, when the newspapers were flourishing in the sports category. And I always found it like, maybe even more interesting, right, to diversify a little bit, although that's not necessarily the MO, especially of the South Florida sports fan. It's not, something that we're accustomed to, and we're not used to this either, having this much excitement to witness. I mean, last night was rough, right? A Mustang says, what is it tonight? Hockey, basketball? I said, I don't know. I mean, I think the only thing on was like Yankees, Red Sox, which usually, I mean, thank goodness, did the pitch clock change that game so dramatically that you no longer have 5-hour Yankee Red Sox games?
Yeah, it's got to have. The games are averaging like 2.5. Those games are usually 4.5.
John Sterling got beamed with a foul ball. Did you hear about that?
Oh, no.
He got hit in the head with a foul ball. Apparently, it didn't do any damage, so that was good. 86 years old. He's still calling Yankee games.
That's crazy. He's still doing games.
It is high. It is far. It is caught by the catcher. Wow, look at that. He went all the way to the wall to get that. I guess if you could, right? Wouldn't you still be doing this at 86? Why would you give up the job as a Yankees play-by-play guy when they don't even, require you to talk about the game? You're just making stuff up. I mean, why not just dig up Rizzuto at that point? Canadian Open was good. I have to say, should I feel guilty for watching PGA action?
Oh, I mean,
I should.
No, you can do what you want. I mean, it's a personal choice. I just personally look.
Am I supporting blood money from the Saudis by watching this shit? What do you think? I'm a golf fan. I always was.
I mean, look, you're not making the money. So if they're willing to make the money, I guess you can watch it. I don't watch a lot of golf as it is anyways, but yes, I'm going to make it a point to not watch. I think it is ridiculous what has happened. And the fact that they folded that quickly and that easily when the PGA had the upper hand. The LIV Golf Tour has been an utter flaming disaster. Like,
I believe it was, very much like Major League Baseball or the Trump business organizations. and probably many others. I don't mean to single out Trump on this one. Where the last thing you want to do is have somebody scrutinize your finances and what you're doing with the money, where it is, and how you accumulated it, and how it is that you're not having to divide it up among the players. The PGA. I think that was their biggest fear, Lubie. They talked about how they were going to get drained in spending money on litigation because of the Live Tour and this antitrust suit they had against them. And then on top of that, they had to increase their purse money to keep guys from defecting, or so they thought. Could they have lived literally, no pun intended, without the Live Tour people? I think so.
Feinstein was very adamant that there was no need for this to happen. Even with
no need. Okay.
When we have Feinstein on, he said point blank they have the money. Remember, I asked, that was my thing, is maybe they can't afford to coexist with Live. Live has changed.
I didn't see Live doing any damage. Did you?
That's what Feinstein was like. Yeah, they're doing really well. They're fine. He's like, this has nothing to do with money. It's what you're saying. They don't want, greed is good. They don't want to have to lose the money that they're making. They'd rather get bought out by these guys and let the lawsuit go away so they don't have to show their books and have to show their books. They don't want to show that they're not a nonprofit. They're a massively successful profit.
Yes.
That's what they are.
They might have more money than the Saudis. You would have figured that they could have drained the Saudis, instead of vice versa. But Monahan is contending that, and other people that are, in the so-called know about what took place, said that they would have been drained in a short period of time anyway,
Nope.
and that they couldn't win in the long haul, so they just capitulated to it and said, "Hey, you guys win. You got more money than anybody could ever imagine, and it's too powerful for us to contend with." Seemed pretty lame too, huh? Because with Koepka, Dustin Johnson, who are really guys that those two guys obviously very good and are very much in potentially their primes. DeChambeau, does anybody care if they never see Bryson DeChambeau again? I don't think so. DeChambeau's, that doesn't seem like somebody that was. He was popular when he ballooned up there with the Victor Conti serum and was hitting the ball 500 yards through trees. Like the ball would actually just knock trees over instead of vice versa, where, it gets caught up and ricochets around and then drops straight down into a sand trap that's impossible to hit on him. DeChambeau had shattered that, and he became an exciting player to watch from that standpoint, especially, in a game where, what do you have? A bunch of pretentious stiffs for the most part, no? Tiger, you have to respect him for turning down his Saudi money, though. He knows he's finished. If anybody knows where he's at physically, it would be Tiger Woods. He's living it. Probably figures he doesn't have much to contend for in the future, as much as he would like to believe otherwise. But I was going to go ahead and defer to reality and say I don't have much going. And they offer him $750 million, and he says no. I wouldn't endorse you bleep suckers, under any circumstance for no amount of money. And yet. And he's blindsided by this as well. Because who could they really have taken away that would have made you think, okay, I'll never watch the PGA Tour again. I'm going to strictly be a live guy. Plus, they had that cockamamie concept with the teams. Does anybody care about golf teams?
No.
Where they randomly throw four guys together on a team? That was a concept that was never going to work, was it? Were you going to get excited? What were some of the names of the teams? Do we even know?
I have no idea.
Who's on them, right? I don't care about seeing a washed-up Ian Poulter or an Usti.
No.
You would have thought they could have contended with that, no?
No desire at all. I don't care about any of it. It was a disaster. It wasn't working. The defections had stopped. Yeah, you saw Cam Smith after he won, what was it, the Masters or the US Open? But you hadn't seen anyone else. And no one knew that when they were on, no one was talking about them. They weren't getting any ratings, let alone good ratings.
They had a handful of tournaments, too. 14 tournaments in their big season after 8 the first year.
No, it's like the Luria Sampson when they were like, we're in the red. Yeah. And then they look at the books and they're like, no, you're making shitloads of money from the TV revenue. You're making shitloads of money from everything.
And they're sharing in the league's generosity to share the wealth of teams that aren't trying.
Ball clubs, financials. No, you're actually in the black. You're doing really well. You're fucking liars.
Yeah.
And go screw yourself. Yeah, that's what the PGA was doing.
Graduates of the Trump School of Business.
Yes, and the PGA did the same thing.
Stiff everybody and pretend you're losing money and then act like the most persecuted human on the planet. Exactly. That guy, Bill Barr, man, remember when he seemed like such an asshole because he was a staunch Trump supporter and, anything Donnie said, it was like, oh, yeah. This is,
Was his
vile
age-
what the government is doing to this poor man.
was his former-
Even he said this guy's toast, man.
Well,
Toast.
no, I mean, there's so many things coming after the guy. It's just
But no, on this, latest thing with the, the indictment
yeah,
is coming down, has come down, and the actual processing and court appearance is tomorrow.
when they
Of course, it's right here in our backyard, which is great.
when they've turned big people like Meadow, like all these people that never were going to turn, have turned, and that's Trump's worst nightmare. Look, Trump was not subtle. That's what's annoying to people. It's not that he's Teflon Don because he's Al Capone and he was just such a great criminal. The problem with Trump is he's a suck-ass Trump criminal.
Seems pretty stupid to
All
me.
of this shit is out in the open. We know he harassed women. We know that he bilked money from investors. We know that he defrauded partners. We know that all of his companies were a total fucking joke. Like, it's not
casinos. He busted out.
We know the U.S. like everything he's touched has turned into shit. Like we know.
How do you go broke with a casino?
Yeah. What do you mean? The USFL was actually had found a nice soft
thriving,
spot,
yes.
and he was too greedy to take it. Like that's what's annoying to people. It's not that he's this master criminal. It's like, well, good for him. No, he's a suck ass criminal. Like he sucks. He's obvious. He's blatant with the shit he does, and still somehow gets away.
Well, and he likes to talk a lot. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be a criminal, be discreet. The idea that he's actually on tape telling the guy, well, I shouldn't be showing you this. It shows you how vulnerable you are to nuclear warfare. It's like, what? This is what you're leaking to the public? Way to go, Donny boy. And this is post being president. I mean, dude, how stupid can you be? Anyway, Bill Barr, man, saying, I mean, and I was looking at this Bill Barr and I thought, how does he sleep at night? With some of the things, it was very much like watching Trump press secretaries get up there and have to lie through their teeth, and then challenge everybody who said anything that seemed credible, and say, well, what were you talking about, right? That Huckabee Sanders, who now is a governor.
Yes.
It's frightening when you think about what's really going on. This guy could end up from jail running the country.
And that's the funny thing is people would
I give him more chance of being president than I do the Heat of beating Denver in the 7-game series.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah,
well, we're giving him no chance,
Yeah. He has a chance. He's going to be.
How great would that be, though, if your president was incarcerated? That would be like the greatest thing ever.
I don't know. We live in a weird fucking world.
It'd be like Whitey Bulger, I mean, just sitting there in prison, calling all of the shots. You don't think El Chapo? I don't know. How isolated could he be in that maximum security cell? That, you don't think that maybe he's getting a couple of messages out to the cartel? No? Aren't they still in full operation now? They're in the people smuggling business now. And fentanyl is unfortunate. You don't think El Chapo's got something to say about that?
For sure.
So it'd be awesome, man, right? The greatest country in the world, in most people's minds, including mine. Although I'm not convinced that that's going to remain the case. Are you, Louie?
No, we're far from that. I love this country. I'm happy to be here, but this greatest country, it's always people that have never been to other countries. If you've never been anywhere else, you can't call this place the greatest. You have to have something to compare to. There are plenty of great countries out there, and I love this country, and there are other great countries.
I'm a red-blooded American, always will be, regardless. But I mean, if you see if that happened, right, where your president was running the show from prison, tell me. I mean, Woody Allen to an extreme.
Oh yeah.
At that point.
It's a parody. I mean, that's what it's become.
All right. We're coming back with more. Craig Minervini going to join us soon, and we'll come back. Interesting happenings in the Canadian Open. That was great. This Nick Taylor story was good. 69 years since a Canadian had won their country's Open championship.
Nice.
And the way these guys were lined up, it really did. It looked like the Ryder Cup, which is kind of cool in golf because you don't usually see people yelling and screaming and being openly biased one way or the other, right? Golf is usually a very polite, respectful sport, except for the sellout to the Saudi blood money, except for condoning murder and human rights atrocities. Oh, my God, Louis, what does the world come to? It used to be, a long time ago. I don't know. You probably, were just thinking about becoming, a part of the sports industry at that time. But I remember when you had to almost become like a medical expert to go on the air. And people were discussing these injuries and, various things, and you had to know a little bit about that sort of thing. And now, I mean, with this politics, you really have to be a student of the absurd, don't you? it's insane to think, that this is going on. When I saw these guys yesterday reacting on these shows, I mean, we know what the Republican stance is going to be. But if you were running against Trump for the nomination for president, wouldn't you take the opportunity now? How can you possibly be scared of this guy that you're going to lose his base by criticizing him? When the truth is, if you were saying I'm a better alternative to be the Republican nominee for president, wouldn't you take this opportunity to just speak out and say, hey, you know what? Would people not have more respect for a guy, like this vapid Mike Pence, if he actually just said, hey, does he really believe this, that, the way to rationalize this away is to keep referring to Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, look, I just saw it here. Like, she didn't win. She didn't get office, and they fucked her out of it. How can you still talk about her? Like, it was shown that there was nothing on the things. Nothing was wiped out. That's a load of garbage. They got all the emails. They looked at them. There was nothing there. And they found out before the election, and they didn't announce it till way too late, and it had changed people's opinion. And she still won the popular vote handily, but she lost. She wasn't president, and she didn't run again. So the fact that they still go to her, like, to me, when your answer isn't my guy didn't do it, but yeah, of course he did it, but what? Why? Like, if you're admitting, yeah, we know he did it, who gives a shit what other people did? Yeah. Like, who cares? I'm not worried about that.
It's a moot point at this stage, because all the guy had to do was give the stuff back. They begged him. They didn't care that he took the stuff. It was like, just give it back, Donnie, okay? And then, I mean, he can't help himself, this guy. It's amazing. But for these Republicans that are running against him to say, oh, my God, you believe what they're doing to our guy? Isn't that a little self-defeating? I mean, all of the campaign contributions that went to these guys, they appear to have little chance unless Trump is out of the race. So we'll see. Anyway, that's where we're at in America today. All right, enough on that, Lubie. Too much good stuff was going on in sport, huh? French Open, Joker, he does it. 23 Grand Slam titles, spanning obviously many eras. There was a time when people thought the Joker was never going to amount to anything close to his potential. Remember that? I don't know if you go back that far with this guy. Remember, they thought, well, he's kind of a goofball. And you could not be. I mean, this guy is an impenetrable force. I mean, you may beat him, but it's never going to be easy. You will not see, and so steady and solid that, I mean, people crumble at his feet as this guy. I don't know that Casper Ruud had any kind of ammunition that he was going to be able to take out Djokovic in 3 out of 5 sets. Seemed impossible, didn't it? But that's part of the guy's greatness. I mean, you talk about an unbeatable player. He is that. Nadal was out on the clay. Federer was out for a long period of time. Joker's been doing it forever. And can you buy this, though? I mean, it's Leslie Visser that we would be disputing here. Lubie, does that make any sense, or should we be ashamed of ourselves? The pronunciation of Iga, I've been saying Swiatek forever.
That's all I've ever heard.
Really Swiatek?
Maybe. Just why don't they say? Like, I've never heard any. Look, you watch her matches where they say the name the entire match.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever said it any other way? Like, I'm not.
I don't know.
I mean, you're not watching the match.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not hearing it. I mean, my hearing is a little bit defective at this point.
I've never heard it.
Swiatek? Like in Schwitz?
It may be that. I've never heard it.
I've never heard it done that way. No. Anyway, she wins the French Open. It was a competitive match all the way down to the wire. I think it was 4-4 in the third set. Mukova, I've been saying, Leslie says it's Muhova. What is going on? Did she take some course in Dutch or something? Swiatek. I can't get used to that. Brady in the Joker's box. What did you think? Did you hear Susan Wallman in your head the entire time, Libby? Oh, you weren't watching.
No, I don't.
I keep hearing Susan Wallman saying, "That's Roger in George's box." Is she Marge Simpson's voice also? Susan Wallman? Did she do the cartoon voice for Marge Simpson?
Oh, it sounds just like it. Yeah, it's very reminiscent.
That was one of the great pieces of announcing ever. That's Roger Clemens in George's box. I'm looking at him going, wait a minute, that's freaking Brady. What's he doing there? In Paris, looking good too, the kid. Amazing. And then immediately, because he was sitting there with Joker's wife, people, A, had him having an affair with Joker's wife, and then B, assumed he was making a comeback and about to make the announcement that he was coming back, and who would he end up playing for? Dan Campbell. That would be perfect, right? To back up Jared Goff in Detroit. Helped him win a title. All right, we're coming back with more. Craig Minervini going to join us. We'll have Mike Mayo's lunchbox. Mayo said nothing about his poker antics over the weekend. Is that a good sign?
No, it's a bad
or a bad sign?
Brags. Yeah, Mayo brags when he's made money.
Mayo does like to tout his winnings. He's not afraid to talk about getting crushed either. So, that balances out. Because more often than not, he's talking about, what has he been lamenting for the last couple of years that we've known the guy? All of my friends have won jackpots. You think he took down like the 32 dimes yesterday?
No, we would have heard about that.
Oh, he ended up 50th place. Not bad. He made
You're fine, but you're not going to brag.
Yeah,
you're not going to brag about that. That's the kind of thing you would tell us.
It's brag-worthy out of 1,500 people.
I think it's great. I'm just saying he's not going to brag about that. Like, he was hoping to get in the top 40, I think he said. Top 25 or something. I
hope to finish number one there. Take 32,000 down. That must take. Are you exhausted after something like that? You're in this thing forever. But what winning is always good, is it not, Lubie? Even winning 10 cents is better than the alternative, which was the case with me and the Belmont. Did you watch the Belmont at all?
No, I meant to ask you guys how it went.
Decent race.
Saturday was the
Forte made a nice close to run second. That was the only thing that I was able to salvage. Was my buddy Piscataway Ray, who liked the 9-horse, which I that was a throwout for me. So and I had the Polyman picks, which he liked the 6, 7, and 8, which Forte ran second, and the 7 and the 8 ran fourth and fifth, up there in tight in the photo for third place, which went to your favorite horse, Tapit Trice.
Oh, that's Mayo's, yeah.
So, Gurgle's on the show, though. He said he liked Arcangelo, and it has a good local angle. In fact, I may make an inquiry here and see if we can't get the trainer, Jen Antonucci, who I believe is no relation to the great racing writer and handicapper, Jerry Antonucci. Jen Antonucci, and she's locally based. She became the first female trainer ever to send a horse out that won the Belmont Stakes. First ever. So, Julie Crone win as the first female rider in the Triple Crown race at Belmont, and now Jen Antonucci. We'll see. I'll see if I can't get a number for her. Maybe we can get her on the show, because it was a good race. Arcangelo hanging on. You had National Treasure out there setting the pace. The Baffert horse faded and was off the board. Forte, I thought would be up near the lead, and was not. Came thundering home and nosed out Tapit Trice for second place. Tapit Trice ended up third. But good race. I ended up, I put 100 up with Piscataway Ray, and we got back $67. Well, we had 200 up altogether. We each had a stick, so we lose 70 to the race, even though we had to try. That's pretty pathetic. We would have been okay had we just thrown out his 9-horse altogether. But what are you going to do? If you're in a partnership with a guy and you respect his opinion, but you think he's crazy? No, at this time, did you try to talk him out of it? Now, I had to go make the bet, and I ended up laying out the cash somehow. So right now, I'm on the hook for even more money, but I know Ray's good for it. Not really concerned about that. It's just that had he not been obsessed with this horse, I think we would have made a pretty good score. Because my play was Forte in the back wheel, thinking that this horse runs well off a layoff, but, who knows about a mile and a half and how that's going to go for him. I would be willing to take a shot against him. He went off, I believe, the favorite. Either that or Angel of Empire might have been the favorite in the race, and Angel of Empire was nowhere to be seen. I guess I was in that photo for fourth. Interesting. Arcangelo, though, was Gurgle's pick on the show. If you go back, he was very emphatic about the idea that he liked that horse. So you could have made a score. The play was, to pound the exacta with Forte. Other than that, there wasn't much in spreading a lot of money around. All right, so we're coming back with more. Craig Minervini in a few minutes here on the show. We'll get the scoop on the red-hot Miami Marlins. On fire with what? How are they doing it, Lubie?
Their pitching's been great. Finally, Alcantara had a great start Saturday. Cabrera's been good. Luzardo's been good. This guy Garrett.
He was good yesterday. For the
Cut out
most part.
innings yesterday. Like, they finally the rotation's solid. The puck guy's good in the bullpen. The other rest of the bullpen, Floro sort of sucks.
Yeah.
And
Floro scares me when he comes in.
So Lair woke up, and your guy's hitting over 400.
And who's the skinny kid? He's like 6'5", 140. Looks like
Perez. Perez is everything.
Looks like Heredia. Oh, Perez has been good too.
Perez is everything people thought he was.
The hot guy in baseball right now, I don't know if you've seen anything on this guy, and we'll have to ask Minnie about him. This guy with the Cincinnati Reds that got called up, De La Cruz. Have you seen him? He's a tall, lanky guy, man. He is supposedly like, he's having a phenomenal start. I think he's hitting 360, and he's got power and real flashy player, speed. He runs the bases. He's a shortstop by nature, but I think he's playing third base for Cincinnati. And he is one of those guys that's just entertaining, like Acuna to watch. And, baseball obviously could use an infusion of talent like that. That's for sure, as opposed to, the guy that just goes up there, hits 220 and strikes out 300 times a year. All right, back with Craig Minervini in a moment. Now that. What are the odds on this, Libby? What do you say?
We'll see.
Over under Minervini. 841. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in Style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Hear me. I am your new president. From this day on, the official language of San Marcos will be Swedish. Silence! In addition to that, all citizens will be required to change their underwear every half hour. Underwear will be worn on the outside so we can check. Furthermore, all children under 16 years old are now 16 years old.
What's the Spanish word for straitjacket?
Power has driven him mad.
Welcome back to The Defo Show.
It's funny to read descriptions from poker players about their exploits because as much as I enjoy the idea of it, not a poker player per se. I used to play a little bit. We didn't have Texas Hold'em as a game of choice back when I used to have the weekly poker games with my teenage buddies. But it's almost like reading a Charles Gorin column. Did you ever take a look at the Bridge column? Where Mayo is saying he ran into QQ and AA. I was thinking, really? You joined Alcoholics Anonymous too, on top of everything else? He's got the description there, but not bad, man. I mean, that's a lot of fun. That's you're buying, a little bit of entertainment and having a chance to win some big money. That would be great. I took a shot on a Powerball over the weekend, Lubie, thinking that I was in good shape. I ended up with $8 back from my 20.
There you go.
I have actually right here on my desk. I have 2 tickets that are worth a total of $74.
Nice.
And I invested $220 in them. And that's the beauty of gambling, right? You may as well go ahead and take up FanDuel and DraftKings on those in-game propositions, my friends. And, try to figure out if you think that a guy's going to hit a leadoff homer, you get 1,800 to 1 to 100. And sure enough, he does it, right? This guy dinked one Segura off the foul pole. It was like almost Carlton Fisk-esque as he was motioning for the thing to stay fair, and it did. And the Marlins come back and win a game. All right, what do you think, Lubie? I mean, are you going to make a book on this or not?
Great. Yeah, it's not looking great. He was supposed to be here by now. He's not, and I texted him, and I haven't heard back yet. So
it ain't happening, man. I love the guy, man, and he's great when he comes on the show. But you're probably not catching Craig Minervini before 10:30 in the morning, no?
We've had him on, but it's not an automatic. He's one of our more elusive guests, to say the least.
I have probably spent more time, promoting non-existent Minervini appearances on this show than maybe any other single category that we've talked about. Where we couldn't find a guy in the morning. It's okay. Perkins used to be like that a little bit. Chris Perkins, who now is sometimes featured on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, and is always a pleasure. And we've had him on this show, and I would imagine we would have him again. What happened with Dalvin Cook? I couldn't figure that out.
He wants
Did
a real
sign with the Dolphins or no?
No, he wants a real contract, and the Dolphins don't have money. The idea would be to get him at a low money contract, maybe do bonuses, and he's not willing to accept $4 or $5 million a year. He wants a real deal, which he's not going to get. I mean, he's late 20s as a running back. Like, the NFL is not giving you second contracts. Like Henry is probably the last guy to get one of those contracts. Like, you're just not getting it. It's just not worth it for a team to put money into a guy that's only going to give them another 2 years. After 30, running backs are downhill. It is what it is. It sucks for running backs, but that's the reality of the game.
I love when these stories, though, spiral into a level of certainty, which seemed to be the case. What was that, not Friday? That everybody was saying, oh, yeah, Dalvin Cook, he's going to be a Dolphin. What? They worked it out there, and they got these other two guys now in behind them, and they're going to be very good. Well, what a trio of running backs the Dolphins are going to have. As if it was Zaka kicking a Merc all over again. I know Dalvin Cook always impressed me. I mean, a guy runs hard. Going back to his Florida State days, he was an animal there. Gene Deckeroff telling us flat out that Dalvin Cook was the best running back that he had ever seen in all of his years. How many years was he calling FSU football? Like 50?
30, something, 40, something like that.
What happened to Mick Hubert? Is he okay? I know he retired, but is Mick still around?
Sure, he's fine. He retired. I mean, he was just shy of 30 years, and he retired. And Gene, I think, was at like around 40. And he's still doing Bucks games. I think he's doing Bucks games for another year or two before he hangs that up as well.
Yeah, you would think that after, at some point you would have to, reduce the schedule a little bit, man. I remember some of the stories he was telling us about how he got from one, because you're in some pretty tricky locations, right? If you're calling college football. I mean, it's not like, these games are played in big cities. Usually that's anything but the case. Right? Is college football anything in New York City? No.
No.
They consider, I guess do they consider the Cuse their basketball team also? I would think that would change.
At one point it was St. John's.
Dramatically, with St. John's now with Patino, who, did you see what he did? He brought in like 11 new players, Lubie.
Yeah. He hammered the transfers, I think. I think he hammered.
Oh, he was all over the place, man. He was in Greece. I think he got some guy from the Greek Professional League that somehow had college eligibility left, even though he was making millions in shipbuilding money. For the last 12 years. He's got like a 40-year-old guy, I think, coming in from the Greek Pro Leagues just to be an enforcer under the basket. That'll be interesting. But, college football, nothing in New York City, right? You weren't even a college football fan. I wasn't. But when I grew up in New York City, we didn't give a flying one about college football, Lubie. Nothing. So, this will be an interesting consideration. Because you have all kinds of different things happening with the Miami Dolphins with regard to that running back spot, and yet and Cook, as tough as they come, would have been a welcome addition, no? If they were able to pull that off. What do you think, Lubie? No,
it'd be amazing to get Dalvin Cook would be fantastic. He wants a real contract that I don't think they even have. The money, and if they do have the money, they don't want to allocate it all to him, I guess.
Don't they need some offensive linemen though? Well, wouldn't you be more emboldened about the Dolphins' chances? Are people going to be badly fooled? There was reason to believe that the Mets were going to have a big season this year, was there not?
Yeah. What do you mean? They went all in.
I wasn't sure that the Verlander and Scherzer were both going to hold up across the length of a season.
Yeah, that's why
They were making heavy investments in 40-year-old pitchers.
yes, and guys that were old and had recent injuries. Well,
Yeah.
Scherzer and Verlander. Verlander won a Cy Young last year, but before that he had been hurt. And Scherzer is fucking old and a bulldog, so he's had his nicks, his injuries through the years, and at some point it's going to fall off a cliff.
Yes, kind of like the Heat scrubs, where
Yes.
they just they hit a wall, and then if you're not getting spectacular performances out of other guys like Jimmy Butler, see, I don't know that I put any of this on Jimmy Butler. He carried them to this point.
He's done all he can. I mean,
Yeah.
look, and I'm frustrated with Bam because I know he can do more, but again, he's doing his best. He's up against they go 6'9", 6'10", and I don't care what they list Jokic. Jokic is 7 feet. So that's what he's up against. Like, he's not really he's like a 4, and he's an undersized 4, to be brutally honest. I'm playing the 5. Like, it's just, there's only so much he can do, and he's doing his best, but that's all he can do.
I think too. I've been saying this, and I think it was applicable again in Game 4 that we were duped by that 1/4 quarter that the Heat had in Denver, where you talk about must make no mistakes. They did virtually everything right. To a sensational level, and I thought, well, I don't know, can they do this again? They're not going to be able to sustain this, are they? They did to an extent in the. Oh, you're kidding me! Wow. They did to an extent in that Milwaukee series, but that's a hard level of play for those kind of guys to sustain.
Yep.
And maybe the difference. And as we said, Denver's just kind of methodical and yet powerful enough that they can exploit the Heat's biggest weaknesses, which is nothing on the inside. All right, this is unbelievable, as touted, and we knew it. How many people had the over on this, Lubie? What was the final tally? There he is on video too. The great one himself, Mr. Craig Minervini. Minnie, I know. What were the odds that you would make?
I think I was
2-1.
2-1. 2-1.
2-1. Now, where
Good
are
morning.
you? Is that Vegas in the background? Is that the Intercoastal? What is that?
This is the Intercoastal.
Beautiful.
Show you the Intercoastal.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, look at you with the pan cam. Very nice. It's not like you got Mike Fernandez directing this.
Actually, it is Mike. Sorry.
All right, looks good. Now you were out in Vegas for the what? For the first couple of games of this Cats
I went
series?
out for game 1, and
Okay.
I didn't do well, so I couldn't afford game 2.
I see. But you were on somebody else's dime, right? Wasn't that NBC?
So, yes, I did work for NBC6. I did, yes. But
was
my
nice of
son
them to
came
call.
out, and I had to buy a ticket for him for game 1.
Oh, Jesus.
So, yeah.
Wait a minute. Did you say?
How'd you even
When
do
I
that?
thought, did you say I had to buy a ticket?
Absolutely. For my son, I did, yes.
Oh my God, Craig!
I know.
Did you not read? Did you not take journalism 101?
I should have called you to figure out, now, how do I get my son in here?
Yeah. Jim Frivola, man. Even if he hadn't talked, he's not with the team anymore. But
I
even if
did
you
run
hadn't,
into Jim, actually,
yeah?
out there. Yeah.
if you hadn't spoken to him in years, do you sheepishly call and go, "Hey, Jim, how you doing? I'm going to be out in Vegas, by the way."
You know what? You send a Facebook thing about a day before that, and then the second day you go, "Whoa! By the way,
Just happens I'm going to be around, and I'm bringing my son out there.
come on."
Now, is your son? How old is your son, Craig? Because you're a young looking guy.
He is 28.
Oh, so old enough to get in trouble.
He's an attorney.
Oh, wow.
Even more
Shocking.
reason for him to be old enough to get in trouble.
Yes.
Now, how did he make out?
He didn't do well in Ultimate Hold'em, but he did enjoy the game.
Okay, so he ran into a brick wall there. And were you at your blackjack best or no?
No, I just actually, you know what? We stayed at the Red Rock for a couple of days.
Where the hell is that? Red Rock Canyon?
The Red Rock is out on the out near the Red. You probably never seen it because you actually have to go off the strip.
Yeah, I know. I've been there before. It was a hotel. I actually made.
It's a beautiful. It really is a beautiful casino hotel near the Summerlin area, in Summerlin, which is where the practice facility is for the Knights.
Okay.
And also the scenic Red Rocks where you can hike.
Red Rock
through
Canyon.
that area.
Yeah, I did that once.
AAA teams there too as well. It's beautiful. But apparently the team did not like it. From what I heard, the team is not staying there this time around.
Oh, well, that could only lead to more trouble, could it not?
I don't mean they like it from the standpoint of where it was or whatever. This time they're, probably because you didn't win a game too. Superstitious everybody is. So they're going to be staying a little closer to T-Mobile.
All right, let's try to get a little bit into the technical aspect of it. Although hockey is very abstract, as we see, and often produces surprising results or results that you think, well, geez, that team really played well to go out there and lose. What are you seeing in this? I mean, what's the difference in the series so far?
It looks to me, Vegas is good. I watched them during the year, but I didn't realize how big they are. They are shutting down. They're shutting them down. The Panthers are just not getting shots through. This defense is huge. They're heavy, you'd say in hockey. They're just heavy. And then the Panther power play has been virtually non-existent. It has been actually. Where they 0 for 13, not getting.
They still don't have a power play, huh? Okay.
Look, the other night I do like the way McCauley and the other guy called the game better than earlier. They sort of let everything go. But if you're going to call a Chinsey trip on the Panthers, how do you not call Mark Stone for knocking the guy's stick out? Not the difference in the game. Certainly, there weren't a lot of calls missed. I don't think the other night. I thought it was a good job. I just didn't like that one penalty in that. The one with Stone was pretty obvious, and they didn't call a slash on that.
The trip was stupid. It wasn't even a trip.
Yeah, it looked like they. You know what? There used to be a guy named Bill Chadwick. Do you remember him?
Vaguely, yeah. I can't say that I.
All right, so Bill Chadwick was the Rangers color announcer with Jim Gordon for years. They called him the Big Whistle.
Yeah.
And when the Rangers played the Flyers, Bill Barber was known for diving. And when Bill Barber was tripped, Chadwick would say to Gordon, "And Jim, you can feel the splash from up here." and I get that feeling when I watch these nights. You can feel the splash. Okay. And we're at the top of the garden.
Luganis time, huh?
Yeah, and that's the kind of line I'm waiting for with these guys. But look, Vegas, Aiden Hill's a good goalie, right? Nobody expected him to play like this. He's a monster in there. He looks like he's 6'4", 6'4".
Yes, but, and he likes to mix it up too, man. He's like Mike Vernon.
Up, but I don't think they've made him make great saves. And Bobrovsky's got to make great saves. They're not, they want to make them east to west, and they're not doing that. And they don't obviously look. Kachuk looks to be injured. I'm not sure. Barkov is 100%. I don't know Duclair. The injury bug looks like it's hit them. They're missing Etu Loisterainen really big. That's a big miss down the middle.
Our man Gudis, man, he can't be 100% after that.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those scenarios where it's the matchup doesn't look great. The Panthers are a little banged up. We're not seeing the same Panther team. Give the Vegas Knights credit there. It's going to be hard to get it back home. I hope they do. It's going to be tough, I think.
Did you know Wayne Newton was still alive?
Looks good.
Game 4, yeah. I don't know if that's good, or game 2. Is that good, Craig? I mean, you have obviously found the secret. I don't know if it's that Dr. Savant guy that Cindy Crawford has been hawking forever, that melon thing.
Yeah.
Whatever you're using to look so young. But how do you look like that? I mean, didn't it look like he put a condom over his face? I mean, and came out there? No?
Wayne Newton here.
Newton.
I saw him on a Bonanza episode. He must have been 16. So that's a long time to be in the business.
When you were, on Bonanza.
Well, my brother watches Bonanza. I happened to be walking around. I said, "Is that Wayne Newton?" He was like, great voice.
I don't know about that. I mean, he was a schmuck. But when he used to come on, you're probably, being younger than me, I don't know if you remember going back to the Ed Sullivan Show. You weren't around during that period of time, but
I was very, very, really, I do remember it very young though. But yes.
Newton he would have on when he couldn't get like the Rolling Stones or the Doors or the Beatles, and it was like, well, tonight we have. Yeah. Do you do a Sullivan? You do
not really, but tonight, never smiled. It's a wonderful act.
You would have never thought he could become the king of Las Vegas. All right, Dale Talon's. Is this document worth any money? The sheet of paper where he made Jonathan Marchessault available in the expansion draft. If you could get that document, would it be like having an original copy of the Gettysburg Address in hockey circles?
I've never confirmed this, so I don't know the answer to this, but I would believe that the deal was Riley Smith and Marchessault. In other words, you take Smith. Remember he signed a big contract. He did not have a great year. You take Smith, and we'll let Marchessault go.
Oh wow!
I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I don't know for a fact. So it was take one bad contract, and we'll give you the other one. Remember, Marchessault wasn't making a lot that year. I think he had 1 year left. He was making $1 million or less, if I'm not mistaken. He's been great. He's a sniper. But they live to see another day. I'm kind of happy for Dale. I always liked Dale. I'm kind of happy for him, and that Bob is finally living up to the billing here at the most important time, because that's a big contract as well, obviously. But it's been a great season. The Heat, the same thing. I think the Panthers are closer to the Knights than the Heat are to the Nuggets, and yet I don't know how much confidence you can. I don't know what the odds are. Do you have the odds for game number 5?
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, you'll find that surprising many.
So are the Panthers plus 150?
Minus 175 Golden Knights. I don't know the Panthers.
You get plus 135.
135. Well, that's
not bad.
So it'll be hard. Look, it's not impossible. It's hockey, but it's gonna be a tough test. Here's the crazy thing: if you do win the game, it always looks impossible 3-1. If you do win the game, you get it back home. That crowd's going nuts. They could have won probably the other night, although the Knights played better. And I thought they could have won game 1. If Cousins puts that goal in, flittered off his stick, I thought they could have taken game 1 too. So if you win game 5, anything can happen. But the Knights have played better, and no one could argue that at this point.
These are some heavy odds they're playing into, though, both of these teams.
Heavy odds.
It's combined 71-2.
Yes.
I guess. I mean, could there have been that many 3-1 leads in finals in the respective sports? 71-2 teams up 3-1, or is that playoff series? But
probably not, because the Panthers just did a 3-1.
It can't be. So that's going to be in the finals. Yeah. 35-1 and 36-1. Hockey and basketball.
That's amazing. Usually because it's one team is so much better than the other, they're going to finish them off anyway.
Yeah.
But how about those Marlins? By the way,
we wanted to get into that too. I mean, this is pretty. How's that happening, Craig Minervini? What's going on? 8 out of 9, and 8 games over 500. Only 3.5 back of the Braves, which is incredible. It didn't seem like this was something that was about to happen. I know they're playing some crummier teams of late, but what's the formula there?
First time since August of 2016, they've been 8 games over 500. That's a long time.
Yeah.
They've really been, if clutch is a thing, they're getting some clutch hits. I don't even think they're playing their best baseball right now. They've got some guys that aren't hitting. The starting pitching is starting to come along, but hasn't been great. And they're almost winning without Sandy, although lately he's pitched better, especially the other night. He pitched a great game. But the bullpen has been very good. The stats are almost throw you off, because you look at them and you're like, they're 10th, 11th in ERA, but when they need to get big outs, they get them, and they finish the game. The one-run game record is one of the best in history right now, and they're doing enough offensively. They're better offensively now than they were a month ago. And obviously, Arise is incredible. Solaire's is resurgent. Like Cooper hasn't hit yet. Segura finally homered. They've got it. It's interesting. It's a surprising. I don't think anybody's noticed yet with the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals. But in about a week or so, or maybe hopefully a week, and whatever that date is, June 19th, Game 7, Panthers win it. Right after that, you hope that the Marlins get some due attention.
No, it's been phenomenal, and it kind of came out of nowhere. At the same time, Craig, it's and you do both. I mean, you're at the hockey games and baseball games, but when you watch playoff hockey and NBA playoff action, and then you switch over to a Marlin game, even a winning Marlin game, And I'm, a baseball fan. I mean, it's literally in my blood. I mean, that's what I grew up with. It was the number one sport. We knew everything about it. That's all we wanted to do was play baseball or some hybrid version of baseball, no matter what
Right.
the conditions were or the confines were. The ability to actually have some sort of field. We would come up with something. But man, the pace. I mean, it was just so slow compared to watching, the frantic nature of these NHL games.
Even with the
it's
pitch
going to
clock.
take an adjustment. It really is. Yeah, even with the pitch
clock.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of just action, right? Where you got 16 guys striking out, and
you flip over, and the game's it's
like
on.
whoa.
Hold.
The announcers are playing canasta while they're in the booth there.
It's
talking about what they had for lunch. I mean, it's crazy.
It's the nature of baseball, right? It's why we like it too. It's fast.
Yes.
It's fast now, though, Defo, and Lubie, the games are 28 minutes shorter.
Yes,
37.
That's been a big plus, I would imagine. No,
Big plus.
That has to be extremely well received, especially by guys that do the post game show.
A big plus. I can almost make the early bird dinner now here in Hallandale Beach. Almost. Very close.
Well, what is it? Is it Schumacher? I mean, they had an abysmal record under our man Don Mattingly, Donnie Baseball. Who you figure would know what's going on? I mean, is it him?
I think he's a factor. He's a no nonsense win today. It's not a knock on Mattingly, but Schumacher, to me, manages to win today and kind of worry about tomorrow. They are very, very careful with the starting pitching. For example, last night he took Garrett out at 5 1/3, nobody on base. Even Schumacher said afterward, I know there's going to be second guesses. I even question myself sometimes. I'm not sure it's sustainable long term to be getting 5 innings out of your starters and rely on 12 outs from your bullpen every night. As good as the bullpen's been, it seems to me a tough task. I hope they take the leash off a little bit going forward, but it's working. It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, very much under the radar.
And you're there for these games. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the people have really taken to it yet. What's it going to take to wake people up?
The Heat and Panthers. I mean,
it's been a tough go here in South Florida, especially at Lone Depot.
Yeah.
No question about it. I mean, that's an honest assessment.
Yes.
I hope people do come out. The game is more fun to watch. There's certainly more action. They took the dead time out and replaced it with action. So I hope people come. You better not get there late either, because you get there late, you miss 3 innings.
It goes by quickly. You're right.
It goes by much quicker, but hopefully people will notice. I think they deserve it. There's no doubt about it. You go on the road, it's lively, and people are noticing the Marlins. I just saw that in the power rankings. I haven't seen the Marlins in the power rankings like ever.
No.
I don't think they had them when we were kids, Defo, the power rankings.
Power rankings, no.
But
you had the Yankees and everybody else, and that was it.
They're number 11. They moved ahead of the Mets. The Mets are like 17.
I mean, the Mets obviously have had all kinds of different things happen, but how many guys can you think of? I don't know if Juan Soto qualifies in this category yet, but I don't think he's done anything so sensational for the $400 million.
No.
And then Lindor and Tatis. I mean, some of these guys, people will always look at Stanton and say, well, geez, he didn't produce once he got this giant contract. I guess Bryce Harper did before he got injured. But how many of these guys are in Major League Baseball that they got like $350 million and they're hitting 220?
Well, I think as a Marlin, you can't argue with Stanton. He was unbelievable. He had 59 homers.
Sure.
They did have that window in the contract, which I thought was brilliant at the time. The 6 years, then he could opt out. So he signs with them, and then they end up trading him. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, don't they pay $5 million a year of that? I know that's not much, but I think that was part of the deal.
It was well worth getting rid of him, since he went south.
Yeah, he's been injured quite a bit. These big contracts are tough to take for some teams, but you're right. It's Soto turned down the big money from Washington, so he's going to be, I guess, next year, I believe, a free agent. And he's still probably going to get a tremendous amount of money, but he's not doing great. He is doing better. I remember when we saw him with the Padres, he was doing better than he had been 3 weeks before that. But the other thing you bring up is, if the Marlins are playing like this, will they add some pieces? This is great. We can go. We would have been off the air.
Yeah.
10 minutes ago.
Right. If you come on late. Yes, exactly.
We could talk all day. This is great.
One last thing. I mean,
I'll stay. Listen, we're here.
I may have you go to the Bob Murphy impression.
For 10, 15 more minutes.
I'm ready to pass out. We've been trying to figure out, what's going to happen, whether the chances of winning either of these two games in the playoffs are for the last 2 hours. This Dela Cruz guy from Cincinnati, any clip you see of him looks spectacular. Have you had a chance to catch this guy yet?
I saw the highlights, but he hit that one. He almost hit it right out of Great American Ballpark.
Yeah.
Big lefty and exciting. Cincinnati's a great baseball town. They haven't played great recently. It's a great baseball town since we were growing up. The Big Red Machine, we all remember, and how it was like you didn't want to play the Reds back in those days. And he's bringing some excitement there. They've dumped a lot of players, including the kid Castillo, who pitched against the Marlins in the Seattle series, who the Marlins had and would have if not for the acquisition of Dan Straley, which was not one of your better deals. Yes. So yeah, he's been exciting, this big guy. Yeah, look forward to seeing him.
All right, and we'll close with this because the people naturally they want me to goad you into doing the Bob Murphy thing. So if Bob Murphy was doing with the Marlins winning 8 out of 9, if he was doing the intro tonight's pregame show with Luzardo on the hill for the Marlins going against Seattle, the Mariners, so the 9:40 scheduled start, what might it sound like at the beginning of the pregame show?
Well, hey, everybody. We talked to the weatherman, and there will be some rain and drizzle here in Seattle. That's nothing new, but what is new is the Marlins are playing some of the best baseball in years. The Marlins Live pregame show is brought to you by Schaefer and Schaefer Light. Premium taste and price right. By Manufacturers Hanover Trust, we're banking the way you want us to be. And by your New York, New Jersey, Fairfield County Datsun dealer. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Murphy. Oh, yeah. We're playing the Seattle Mariners. The Mets are playing. The Marlins are playing the Seattle Mariners tonight. Back with the lineups in batting order in just a moment. First, though, this message.
That was it, man. You brought back memories. That's for sure. Craig, we love you, man. I'm glad you were able to make the show because it's always a pleasure.
The Met Yearbook is now on sale.
Yes.
64 pages in full color. All the pictures are suitable for framing. It'll go great in your baseball library. Order your Met Yearbook at Met Yearbook, Post Office Box 10, Shea Stadium, Flushing, New York. Use the zip code 11368.
I think I did have the Tom and Nancy Seaver picture framed.
And send your $1.25 as well.
All right, Craig Minervini, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
When's your next appearance on the tube here? When are we going to see
I'll be doing the pregame tonight, pregame only.
Oh, yeah?
At 9 o'clock because I believe Mr. Will Manzo and company will have the studio for postgame tonight.
Oh, and a Heat.
For Heat. And then tomorrow, pregame only, because Red Deer Randy Moeller will be taking up about 4 chairs with Steve Goldstein doing the Panther postgame from our Bally Sports studio.
So
they'll do the postgame. They will have a postgame, but Jessica will be hosting the postgame live in Seattle tonight.
All right, we don't want any postmortem, so on those two playoff games. All right, Craig, we'll see you on TV tonight. Thanks so much for being with us.
See you on TV.
Love you, Minervini.
All right, Craig Minervini, ladies and gentlemen. Turned out to be a brilliant performance by Minervini, no? He was many people and many things during that period of time. It was great. All right, we're going to get out of here. We'll have Mike Mayo's lunchbox. Mayo did cash in the poker tournament, which was good. I guess he knew he was going to cash something.
Yes, he knew that. He knew he was getting some kind of money. He just was trying to get the big bucks.
Well, I mean, look, think about it, right? I mean, I had the Powerball on 2 of my 10 lines, so I get my $8, but not one single other number on those lines. Well, what do you need to? I mean, do you get 10 grand if you have like 4 numbers plus the Powerball? Is that how that works?
I have no idea. I've never come close.
I mean, it's really a screw job. It's the worst possible wager you could ever make. And yet I couldn't resist, right? I was feeling good. I thought maybe we were going to hit something big in the Belmont. I thought maybe Piscataway Ray might have been right. As insane as I thought he was, might have been right about the 9 ball. And what was that? Red Route 1 or something like that? It was a horse that earlier in the Triple Crown series wasn't half bad. Arcangelo was rounding into form, and it just won at Belmont Park, the Peter Pan Stakes. So made some sense. 7-1. That was the direction to go in, Lubie. Isn't it great post-race handicapping?
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you.
Much like, I knew it was Denver in 5. No, you didn't. I mean, when they lost game 2, you were thinking, oh, my God, holy shit, we have a series. Swiatek.
Okay.
Swiatek. You buying it?
I don't know.
You're going against Leslie Visser, Hall of Fame announcer.
No, I give her the nod. I just have never heard it, but whatever she
Swiatek.
says, it goes.
I don't know, man. If you called her Swiatek, would she turn around and go, "It's Swiatek, you asshole"? I don't know what would happen. Anyway, won the French Open. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. And later on today, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 12 o'clock today. Going to be on the road a couple of days there with the Mayo Lunchbox, including what? Special K?
The next 4 days, Tuesday, we are
There's a restaurant? Yeah.
Alia's in Boca Raton, the Italian restaurant. Wednesday, where we're hoping.
That hasn't been finalized yet. I'll make that call today. Yeah.
Hoping Thursday.
I believe it'll happen Thursday. We're at the Ocean Manor.
Thursday with Ocean Manor, back at the place we've been going to for years, old stomping grounds. And then, of course, Friday we finish.
Friday, those Gulfstream appearances have been sensational there. And they 10 palms since we moved inside.
It's nice to be in the AC.
And we were like in a closet the first time we were inside there when it was raining. But this is spectacular. Joe Beja, my God. How great is that, right? Order whatever you want off the menu. I mean, that's what radio and TV should be.
It's been fun.
Eating on the air. I mean, I've changed my tune on that.
I'm aware.
All right. We'll see you later on. And thanks so much for tuning in as we leave you now that.
The time.
9:16.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
My show.